I slapped him so hard the champagne glasses stopped clinking. My hand was still burning when I heard it. The applause. Slow, deliberate, coming from somewhere near the bar where the shadows gathered thick as secrets. That's when I saw him for the first time. Vincent Kane. Even his name felt dangerous in my mouth, like something you weren't supposed to say out loud. Everyone knew who he was. You either whispered it like a prayer or hissed it like a curse, depending on which side of his world you stood on. He was watching me. Not the way Marcus Morrison had been watching me all night, that hungry, entitled gaze that made my skin crawl. No. Vincent Kane looked at me like I'd just done something sacred, something worth remembering. His eyes were darker than the November sky beyond those floor-to-ceiling windows, and there was a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. Small. Knowing. Like he'd just witnessed the first act of a play he'd been waiting years to see. My new boss, the one I'd just slapped, stood frozen beside me, his face blazing red. Half rage, half humiliation. The entire 43rd floor of Meridian Tower had gone silent. I could hear my own heartbeat, could hear the elevator music drifting from somewhere far away, could hear my career dissolving like sugar in water. Vincent raised his glass to me, a silent salute. And I knew, standing there in my clearance rack dress with my palms still stinging and my future crumbling around my ankles, that I'd just done something far more dangerous than defending my dignity. I'd caught the attention of a man who didn't just break rules. He rewrote them in his own blood. You will feel so many emotions in this mysterious love story I'm about to tell. Please support us by clicking subscribe to the channel. 3 weeks. That's how long I'd been at Morrison & Blake. 3 weeks of arriving early and leaving late, of learning the difference between preferred stock and common stock, of memorizing client names and pretending I belonged in rooms where my entire student loan debt wouldn't buy a single watch on anyone's wrist. I was a scholarship kid from Queens. My mother had worked double shifts at the hospital until cancer took her 3 years ago. My father was a ghost story I'd stopped telling. The kind of man who disappeared one night and never came back, leaving nothing but unpaid bills and unanswered questions. Morrison & Blake was supposed to be my fresh start, my chance to build something that couldn't disappear. Junior analyst position, barely enough to cover my Astoria studio and bodega coffee, but it was mine. Legitimate, clean. The party was for the senior partners, celebrating some merger I didn't fully understand, in a penthouse venue where Manhattan stretched out below like a kingdom made of light. I wasn't supposed to be here. Girls like me, we observed from the margins. We smiled, we blended. We certainly didn't draw attention. But Marcus Morrison had noticed me anyway. He'd cornered me near the restrooms, in that little alcove where the noise of the party faded to something distant and unreal. His breath smelled like scotch and entitlement. His hand was already on my waist, fingers pressing into the fabric of my dress like I was something he'd purchased along with his custom suit. "You're very beautiful, Emma. Has anyone told you that tonight?" His voice was soft, almost gentle. That's what made it worse. "Mr. Morrison, I should get back to the party. Marcus. Call me Marcus." He leaned in. I could see the tiny red veins in his eyes, the way his pupils had gone glassy from too much champagne. Could smell his cologne, something expensive that couldn't quite mask the rot underneath. "I've been watching you, Emma. You're smart, ambitious. I could help you go far in this company, if you're willing to be friendly." His hand slid lower on my waist. The slap happened before thought. Pure instinct. Pure survival. My mother's voice in my head. "Nobody touches you without permission, baby. Nobody." The sound cracked through the air like a gunshot. And then, the applause. Vincent Kane moved through the crowd like water parting for a shark. People stepped aside without being asked, their conversations dying mid-sentence. He was taller than I'd expected, broader in the shoulders. The photographs in Forbes and the Wall Street Journal didn't capture the way he occupied space, like gravity worked differently around him. His suit was black, expensive, the kind of expensive that didn't announce itself because it didn't need to. His dark hair touched his collar, just slightly too long to be respectable, and there was a scar, thin and precise, cutting through his left eyebrow like someone had drawn it there with a scalpel. He stopped in front of me, close enough that I could smell cedar and something darker. Smoke, maybe. Or danger. Miss Hayes. My name in his mouth felt intimate, dangerous. Marcus here was just leaving his own party. It wasn't a question. It wasn't even a suggestion. It was inevitability, spoken in a voice soft as velvet and hard as steel. Marcus sputtered. His face went from red to purple. Now wait, just a goddamn minute. Permanently. Vincent's voice didn't rise. Didn't need to. Effective immediately. Security will help you collect your things Monday morning. The room had gone so quiet, I could hear my own breathing. Could hear someone's phone buzzing 3 tables away. Could hear the city below, indifferent and eternal. You can't! Marcus's voice cracked. This is my firm. I built this place. Was. Past tense. Vincent's smile was terrible in its gentleness. I acquired controlling interest 2 weeks ago. The paperwork cleared yesterday afternoon. You're welcome to review the documents with your attorney, but you won't be reviewing them here. He turned to me then, really looked at me, and something in his expression shifted, softened, maybe, or recognized something he hadn't expected to find. From now on, no one touches you. Then he walked away. Just like that. Disappeared back into the crowd like smoke, leaving me standing there with my burning palm and the shocked faces of 60 people who'd just watched a senior partner get fired at his own party. Carter, Vincent's head of security, though I didn't know that yet, appeared at my elbow. Miss Hayes, Mr. Kane would like you to join him on the North Terrace, when you're ready. I wasn't ready, would never be ready, but I went anyway. The terrace was empty except for Vincent, standing at the railing, looking out at the city like he owned it. Maybe he did. I'd heard the rumors, everyone had, about his father, about the family business, about the thin line between legitimate empire and something much darker. You didn't have to do that, I said. My voice sounded smaller than I wanted it to. No, he agreed. I didn't. So why did you? He turned to face me, and in the light from the party behind us, his eyes looked almost kind. Because I've spent 5 years trying to convince people I'm not my father, that I can build something legitimate, something clean. And then I walk into a party and watch a man assault an employee in his own office, and I remember he stopped, smiled, sad and knowing. I remember that some things are worth getting your hands dirty for. I can fight my own battles. I don't doubt it. That slap could have knocked sense into a marble statue. Despite everything, I almost smiled. I need this job, I said quietly. I need it so badly I can taste it. And you just made me the woman who got a senior partner fired. No one's going to want to work with me now. No one's going to trust me. Then work with me. The words hung in the air between us. You'll report directly to my office. Corporate strategy and development. Same salary as Morrison's junior partners. Full benefits. And I promise you. His voice dropped lower, intimate and deadly serious. No one will ever touch you without permission again. I should have said no. Should have recognized the danger in that promise, the weight of owing a man like Vincent Kane anything at all. Should have walked away while I still could. But I was 26 years old with $40,000 in student debt and a studio apartment where the heat only worked half the time. I was my father's daughter, the man who'd disappeared rather than face his debts. And my mother's daughter, the woman who'd worked herself to death trying to make up for his absence. I was tired of being invisible, tired of swallowing insults and pretending I didn't deserve better. Okay, I whispered. Okay? I'll work for you. Vincent's smile was real this time. Warm, almost surprised. Good. Carter will send you the details Monday morning. Take the weekend, rest, and Emma. Yes? What you did tonight? Standing up for yourself like that? Don't ever stop doing that. Not for me. Not for anyone. I left the party 10 minutes later, took the elevator down 43 floors with my heart hammering and my mind spinning, walked out into the November cold and all the way to the subway. Even though Carter had offered me a car, I needed to walk, needed to think, needed to understand what had just happened to my carefully planned, carefully controlled life. My phone buzzed as I reached the subway entrance. Unknown number. Welcome to the team. See you Monday. VK. I stared at those words until they blurred. Then I saw it. Spray painted on the wall beside the subway stairs, the letters still wet and dripping in the streetlight. Kane's new toy. The paint was fresh enough that it gleamed, fresh enough that whoever wrote it might still be watching. I looked around, but the street was empty. Just me and the graffiti and the cold November wind. I didn't know it then, but that was the moment everything really changed. Not the slap, not Vincent's intervention, but that message, that warning. Someone was watching. Someone wanted me to know I'd been noticed, marked, chosen for something I didn't understand yet. I went down into the subway anyway, because what else could I do? And all the way home to Astoria, I felt eyes on my back, felt the weight of being visible in a way I'd spent my whole life trying to avoid. By the time I reached my apartment, there was another message on my phone. Same unknown number, just 3 words. You were warned. They started following me on Tuesday. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Paranoia has a way of turning every stranger into a threat, every coincidence into conspiracy. My mother used to say I had an overactive imagination, that I saw patterns where there were only accidents. But my mother never had her name spray painted on a subway wall. Never felt the weight of being watched like a physical thing pressing against her spine. The black SUV appeared first. Tinted windows so dark they looked like holes cut into reality. It stayed 3 cars back on my morning commute, following the exact route from Astoria to Midtown. Monday, I'd convinced myself it was nothing. Tuesday, I started counting the intersections. Wednesday, I memorized the license plate. Then there was the man at the coffee shop. Gray suit, different tie each morning. Tuesday it was navy, Wednesday burgundy, Thursday a subtle charcoal stripe, but always the same face. Sharp features, watchful eyes. He never ordered coffee, just stood near the window, scrolling through his phone with the careful deliberation of someone pretending not to pay attention. I should have been terrified. Instead, I felt something stranger, something close to relief. Because being watched meant I mattered. Meant that night at the party hadn't been a fever dream. Meant Vincent Kane's protection wasn't just words spoken on a terrace and forgotten by morning. My new position at Kane Industries came with an office on the 38th floor. Smaller than I'd expected, but mine, desk, computer, a view of the Hudson that made my chest tight with something I couldn't name. The work was real. Strategy reports, market analyses, due diligence on potential acquisitions. Vincent had meant what he said. This wasn't a favor disguised as employment. This was actual work, and I was good at it. But I couldn't shake the feeling that every document I reviewed, every meeting I attended, was part of some larger calculation I couldn't see. Like I was playing chess without knowing which piece I was. Friday evening, I stayed late. The office had emptied by 7, leaving just the hum of ventilation and the distant sound of vacuums on other floors. I was reviewing a contract for a construction company in Brooklyn, analyzing the risk factors, the regulatory compliance, the financial projections, when I noticed something strange. The company had been owned by Vincent's father, transferred to Vincent 5 years ago, right after the old man died. But the business model had changed completely. The old contracts were questionable, partnerships with waste management companies that didn't seem to manage much waste, consulting fees to firms with no consultants, money moving in circles that led nowhere and everywhere at once. Vincent's new contracts were clean, almost aggressively transparent, like someone trying to prove something. I was so absorbed in the documents that I didn't hear him enter until he spoke. "You're still here." I jumped, my coffee cup nearly toppling. Vincent stood in my doorway, his suit jacket gone, his shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked tired, human. Nothing like the man who'd fired Marcus Morrison with 6 words and a smile. "I wanted to finish the Brooklyn analysis," I said, trying to slow my heartbeat. "It's due Monday. It's due Wednesday. And it's 7:30 on a Friday night." He moved into my office, studying the papers scattered across my desk with an expression I couldn't read. "You found the old contracts." It wasn't a question. "I'm doing due diligence, like you asked. And what do you think?" I hesitated. This felt like a test. Like every answer I gave would reveal something I couldn't take back. "I think your father ran a very different kind of company." "My father ran a criminal organization with a legitimate facade." "Be specific, Emma." "I hired you to tell me the truth, not to manage my feelings." The bluntness shocked me. Most people danced around Vincent Kane's history like it was a live grenade. "The old contracts are structured to hide cash flow," I said carefully. "Money goes in, money comes out. but the actual services rendered are vague, impossible to audit. The new contracts are the opposite. Everything documented, everything traceable. It's like you're trying to prove something to someone, to everyone, to the FBI, to my father's old partners who think I'm weak for going legitimate, to myself. He sat on the edge of my desk, close enough that I could smell that cedar scent I remembered from the party. My father built an empire on construction and real estate, legitimate on paper, lethal in practice. When he died, I inherited everything. The businesses, the debts, the alliances, the enemies, people who don't believe in retirement or resignation, only elimination. Why are you telling me this? Because you're smart enough to figure it out anyway. And because you deserve to know what you're walking into. The air in my office felt charged. Electric. Like the moment before lightning strikes. Every legitimate deal I make, every clean contract I sign, is a step away from that world. Vincent continued. But some people don't want me to leave. They want the old agreements honored. The old methods maintained. When I defended you at that party, when I fired Morrison publicly, I sent a message. That I still have the instincts my father taught me. That I still respond to provocations. So protecting me was strategic. Protecting you was human. Everything after that is consequence. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Both of us looked at it lying there on my desk, the screen glowing with a new message. Unknown number, working late with the boss. Careful, Emma. Some promotions cost more than others. Vincent's expression went cold, absolutely cold. The human warmth that had been there seconds ago vanished like someone had thrown a switch. How long have you been getting messages like this? Since Monday. Show me. I pulled up the thread. The warning from Monday. The spray-painted message I'd photographed. The uncomfortable realization that my phone number, my personal unlisted number, was somehow compromised. Vincent's jaw tightened. He pulled out his own phone, typed something quickly, then looked at me with an intensity that made my breath catch. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? I don't know you well enough to trust you. Fair. Then I need you to trust that I'm very good at keeping people safe. And that right now, you need to be kept safe. From who? From people who want to use you to get to me. The words hung there. Heavy. Undeniable. Carter's downstairs, Vincent said. He's going to drive you home. Pack a bag. Enough for a few days. You're not staying in Astoria tonight. You can't just... I'm not asking, Emma. I'm telling you that someone is escalating. The messages, the surveillance. They're not trying to scare you. They're marking you, making sure I know you're exposed. Then call the police. Something almost like pain crossed his face. The police can't help with this. Trust me. I've tried that route before. He stood, and suddenly my small office felt even smaller. You have a choice. You can go home to your apartment, hope this blows over, and pray that whoever is sending these messages is just trying to rattle me. Or you can let me put you somewhere safe while we figure out who's behind this and what they want. What if I don't want either option? Then you're braver than you are smart. And I hired you for your intelligence, not your courage. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Almost. Carter was indeed waiting downstairs. Same gray suit from the coffee shop, though now he introduced himself properly. Former Secret Service, he explained on the drive to Astoria. Worked for Vincent's father first, then chose to stay when Vincent took over. Why? I asked. Why what? Why stay? If you knew what his father was, why not leave when Vincent inherited? Carter was quiet for a long moment, navigating through Friday night traffic with practiced ease. Because I watched a 24-year-old kid inherit hell and decide to turn it into something better. Doesn't matter where you come from, Miss Hayes. Matters where you're trying to go. My apartment looked smaller with Carter standing in it. He swept through with professional efficiency, checking windows, locks, sight lines, found my emergency bag, the one my mother had insisted I keep packed after 9/11, and added items I wouldn't have thought to bring. Medication, documents, a change of shoes. Where are we going? I asked. Somewhere safe. The drive took 30 minutes. We crossed the bridge into Manhattan, wound through streets I didn't recognize, and finally pulled into an underground garage beneath a building that looked like it had been carved from glass and steel and money. Tribeca. Of course. The elevator required a key card. So did the penthouse on the 42nd floor. Vincent was waiting when the doors opened. He'd changed into jeans and a black sweater that made him look younger, less dangerous. Though maybe that was the point, to make me comfortable in a situation that was anything but. "Guest suite is down the hall," he said. "Second door on the right. Private bathroom. The kitchen is stocked if you're hungry. Carter will be on the couch tonight. I'll be in my office if you need anything." The penthouse was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson. Furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. Art on the walls that I recognized from textbooks. Originals, probably not prints. The kind of wealth that didn't announce itself because it didn't need to. The guest suite was bigger than my entire Astoria apartment. I sat on the bed, obscenely comfortable, like sleeping on a cloud, and tried to process what had just happened. 24 hours ago, I'd been a junior analyst with a studio apartment and student loans. Now I was in a Tribeca penthouse under the protection of a man whose father had been investigated by the FBI. My phone buzzed. I nearly dropped it. Another message? Same unknown number. Nice place. "The 42nd floor suits you, Emma. Almost as much as the view." Vincent always did have good taste. I stared at those words. Read them again. Then again. They knew I was here. Knew which floor. Knew I'd just arrived. Which meant they were watching. Still watching. Watching right now. I walked to the window, my heart pounding, and looked out at the city. Somewhere in that ocean of lights and lives, someone had a camera pointed at this building. At this window. At me. I pulled the curtains closed with shaking hands and backed away from the glass. When I turned, Vincent was standing in the doorway. His expression was grim. "They sent you another message." "How did you know?" "Because they sent me one too." He held up his phone. I could see the message from across the room, the words large and clear. "She's pretty when she's scared. Wonder how she'll look when we're done with her." The room tilted. Vincent crossed to me in 3 strides, his hands steady on my shoulders. "Breathe. Just breathe. They're watching us. Right now. They know I'm here. I know. And that's good." How is that possibly good? His smile was terrible. Cold and precise. Because now they've made a mistake. They've shown us what they want. Not just to scare you. Not just to threaten me. They want me to know they can reach you anytime, anywhere. Which means you're not random. You're specific. You're a message. A message saying what? Vincent's eyes met mine. And I saw something in them I hadn't seen before. Not calculation, not strategy. Something that looked almost like regret. That despite everything I've tried to do, everyone I've tried to protect, I'm still my father's son. And people who care about me pay the price. Before I could respond, his phone rang. He answered, listened, then his expression went absolutely still. "When?" Pause. "How bad?" Longer pause. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. And when he looked at me, I saw something I recognized. Fury. The kind that burns so hot it turns cold. "What happened?" "Your neighbor in Astoria? Mrs. Chen? The elderly woman who lives 2 doors down from you?" My heart stopped. "What about her?" "Someone just broke into her apartment, tied her to a chair, left a message." He pulled up something on his phone. A photograph sent by whoever had called. Mrs. Chen, terrified, a piece of paper taped to her chest. I couldn't read the words from where I stood. Didn't need to. Vincent's expression told me everything. "What does it say?" His voice was quiet, deadly quiet. "You were chosen as a message. 24 hours. The girl or the debt. Your choice, Kane." The world went very still, very cold. "What debt?" Vincent looked at me for a long moment. And I saw it then. The thing he'd been protecting me from. The truth he hadn't wanted to tell. "Your father's debt? Emma? Your father owed money to my father's organization. A lot of money. When he disappeared 6 years ago, the debt didn't disappear with him. It transferred to next of kin, to me, to you." The room spun. Everything I thought I understood about my life, my father's disappearance, my carefully built independence, all of it was a lie. All of it was borrowed time. How much? $200,000, plus interest. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Who? Thomas Ferraro, my father's chief enforcer. When my father died, Ferraro went independent. He's been collecting on old debts, making examples of people who thought they could walk away. And I'm next. Vincent's hands were gentle on my face, forcing me to look at him. No, you're not. Because I'm going to fix this. I'm going to end this. But Emma? His voice broke on my name. I need to know. Do you trust me? Even a little. I thought about Mrs. Chen, kind and fragile, tied to a chair because of me. Because I existed. Because my father had been a coward who ran instead of facing what he owed. Save her, I whispered. Whatever it costs, save her. Vincent's expression shifted, hardened. Whatever it costs, yes. Then stay here. Don't leave. Don't open the door for anyone but Carter. And Emma. He paused at the threshold. When I come back, I won't be the man you saw at that party. I won't be the version of myself I've spent 5 years trying to become. I need you to understand that. I need you to know what you're asking me to do. I don't care who you have to become. Just save her. He nodded once. Then he was gone. The door closing with a soft click that sounded like the end of something. I stood alone in that beautiful guest room with its museum furniture and its city views. And I understood finally what I'd walked into. Not a job, not a protection, but a war that had been waiting for me since the night my father disappeared. A war that had just claimed its first casualty. My phone buzzed one more time. The photograph loaded slowly. Mrs. Chen, crying, terrified, and beneath the image, 3 words that made my blood turn to ice. Time is running. I didn't sleep. How could I? Mrs. Chen was out there somewhere, terrified, paying for the sin of living 2 doors down from me, for being kind when kindness wasn't required, for bringing me soup when I had the flu last winter, for asking about my day when I came home late from work, for being the grandmother I'd lost when my own mother died. Carter brought me tea at 2 in the morning, found me standing at the window, curtains open again because I was past caring about surveillance, staring at the city like it held answers. He'll bring her back, Carter said quietly. Whatever it takes. That's what I'm afraid of. He didn't ask me to explain, just left the tea on the side table and returned to his post on the couch, a gun I pretended not to see resting beside him. I thought about my father, about the kind of man who accumulates $200,000 in debt and then vanishes, leaving his daughter to inherit the consequences. I'd spent 6 years telling myself he'd had no choice, that he'd done it to protect us. But maybe the truth was simpler and uglier. Maybe he'd just been a coward who chose himself over everyone else. Maybe I was more like him than I wanted to admit. After all, I told Vincent to save Mrs. Chen whatever it costs. But I wasn't the one paying the price. Vincent was Vincent, who'd spent 5 years trying to escape his father's shadow, who'd been one slap away from successfully rebuilding his reputation as a legitimate businessman. Until I walked into his life and dragged him back into the darkness. My phone stayed silent. The city lights blurred through the windows. Time moved like honey, thick and slow and suffocating. At 4:37 a.m. I heard the elevator. Carter was on his feet before the doors opened, gun drawn, body positioned between me and whoever was arriving. But he relaxed when Vincent stepped out, and I understood why. This wasn't the Vincent Kane from the party in his perfect suit and calculated smile. This wasn't the Vincent from my office in his rolled shirt sleeves and surprising honesty. This was someone else entirely. His shirt was torn at the shoulder. There was blood. Not his, I thought. Prayed, spattered across his collar. His knuckles were raw and swelling, and his eyes, God, his eyes looked like he'd walked through fire and brought the ashes back with him. But Mrs. Chen was there, behind him, supported by another man I didn't recognize, wrapped in a blanket, her face wet with tears, but alive. Alive. I ran to her before thought could stop me, wrapping my arms around her fragile frame, feeling her shake against me. I'm sorry, I whispered into her hair. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Chen. This is my fault. All of this. Hush, child. She patted my back with trembling hands. Not your fault, not your father's debts, not your burden. But it was. We both knew it was. Vincent's doctor arrived within the hour. A woman named Dr. Sarah Reeves who asked no questions and offered no judgments. She examined Mrs. Chen with gentle efficiency, treating minor bruises and dehydration, giving her something to help her sleep. Carter set her up in another guest room, and I sat with her until her breathing evened out and her hand relaxed in mine. When I finally emerged, dawn was breaking over the Hudson. The penthouse was quiet. Carter had disappeared. The other man was gone. Just Vincent remained, standing on the balcony with his back to me, his silhouette sharp against the pink and gold sky. I joined him. The morning air was cold enough to hurt. "Thank you," I said. "Don't thank me for cleaning up a mess my family created." His voice was hollow. "Scraped raw. What did you do? What was necessary? That's not an answer." He turned to look at me, and I saw it clearly now in the daylight. The cost, the weight, the pieces of himself he'd left behind in whatever warehouse or alley or dark place he'd gone to retrieve Mrs. Chen. Thomas Ferraro had her in a shipping container at Red Hook. He wanted me to come alone, to negotiate, to acknowledge that the old debts still matter, that my father's empire still has reach, that I can't just walk away and pretend to be legitimate. And I reminded him why people used to be afraid of my father's name. The words were simple. The meaning beneath them was not, "Did you kill him?" No, but I made him wish I had. He leaned against the railing, exhaustion written in every line of his body. I had a choice, Emma. I could let him take you, let him collect on your father's debt through whatever means he deemed appropriate. I could try to negotiate, pay him off, hope he'd honor his word, or I could do what my father would have done. Show him that some people are still untouchable, that threatening you means threatening me, and threatening me means war. So you chose war. I chose you. The words hung in the air between us. Intimate, terrifying. True. "Vincent," I started, but he shook his head. Don't make this into something romantic or noble. I broke bones tonight, Emma. I hurt people. I used fear and violence and every ugly tool my father ever taught me. I became exactly what I've spent 5 years trying not to be. So don't thank me. Don't romanticize it. Just understand what it means. What does it mean? It means I can't protect you and stay clean. It means choosing you meant choosing the darkness. And I'd do it again. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something shifted in his expression. Hardened. What? He turned the screen toward me. A news article, just posted. Billionaire Vincent Kane questioned in connection to Red Hook assault. Beneath it, photographs. The shipping container, police tape. Speculation about organized crime connections. Ferraro called the police, Vincent said quietly. After I left, reported the assault, claimed I attacked his men unprovoked. But that's not what happened. Doesn't matter. The police have been looking for an excuse to investigate me for years. This gives them one. My stomach dropped. This is my fault. This is my father's fault, and Ferraro's, and the fault of every man who thought debts could be inherited like property. You're just the catalyst, Emma, not the cause. But catalyst was bad enough. I'd been in Vincent's life for less than a week, and already I'd cost him his legitimacy, his reputation, his carefully constructed distance from his father's world. What happens now? Now the FBI gets involved. They'll investigate the assault. They'll look into my businesses, my finances, my connections. They'll try to prove I'm still running my father's operations. And Emma, he met my eyes. They'll look into you too. Your father's disappearance, his debts, your sudden promotion at my company. They'll try to make a narrative that fits their investigation. What narrative? That you're either my victim or my accomplice. Either way, you're no longer invisible. The sun had fully risen now, turning the Hudson into a river of gold. Beautiful. Indifferent. The city woke up below us, millions of people starting their days, none of them knowing that mine had just been irrevocably rewritten. I should leave, I said. Go somewhere Ferraro can't find me. Somewhere I'm not a liability to you. You think geography will fix this? He knows who you are now, Emma. Knows you matter to me. Running just makes you easier to catch. Then what do I do? Vincent was quiet for a long moment, studying the skyline like it held instructions written in architecture and light. You stay. You let me keep you safe. You trust that I'm better at this than Ferraro is. And you accept that your life isn't going to be normal for a while. Define on a while. Until Ferraro decides you're not worth the effort, or until I make him disappear. The casual way he said it, make him disappear, sent ice through my veins. You can't just... Can I? My father disappeared dozens of people. Emma. Problems that couldn't be solved legally. Threats that wouldn't go away. People who knew too much or demanded too much or simply existed in the wrong place at the wrong time. I know how it's done, know who to call, how much it costs, how to make sure nobody ever finds the body, but you won't. It wasn't a question, it was a prayer. I won't, he agreed, because that's the line I won't cross. Not for you, not for anyone, but Ferraro doesn't know that, and fear of what I might do is sometimes more useful than actually doing it. Carter appeared at the balcony door, his expression grim. Sir, we have a problem. Vincent didn't even look surprised, just resigned. Show me. Inside, Carter had pulled up something on his laptop, security footage from the building's garage. Time-stamped 3:47 a.m., while Vincent was still at Red Hook, while I was waiting for news about Mrs. Chen. The video showed a man, late 30s, athletic build, professional in the way Carter was professional, bypassing the garage security with practiced ease, planting something small beneath Vincent's car, then leaving. Tracker, Carter said. High-end, the kind intelligence agencies use. So, Ferraro's not just threatening, he's preparing, or someone else is. Vincent and Carter exchanged a look I couldn't decipher. Some communication that existed in glances and silences, built over years of working together. Pull all the building security footage from the past week, Vincent ordered. Find out if this is the first time he's been here. And Carter? Sir? Move Emma to the Riverside property. Tonight, this location is compromised. Vincent, I started, but he cut me off. Not negotiable. If they can track my car, they can track everything. This building isn't safe anymore. My phone buzzed. All of us looked at it lying on the coffee table, like it might explode. Unknown number. Of course. I picked it up with shaking hands, opened the message. A photograph loaded slowly. Mrs. Chen's apartment in Astoria. My apartment, 2 doors down. Both doors marked with red X's, like something out of a plague year. And beneath the image, you saved one. But there are so many more people who care about you. Emma Hayes, your college roommate in Boston, your mother's sister in Philadelphia, your favorite barista at that coffee shop you used to go to every morning. Should we visit them next? The phone slipped from my hands. Vincent caught it before it hit the floor, read the message, and his expression went absolutely still. The kind of still that comes before violence. They're bluffing, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. How do you know? Because visiting every person you've ever cared about would take resources Ferraro doesn't have. He's trying to scare you, make you paranoid, isolate you. It's working. Carter was already on his phone, making calls, arranging protection for people whose names he pulled from some database I didn't want to think about. My college roommate, Sarah, who I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. My Aunt Margaret, who sent birthday cards and called on Christmas. People I'd almost forgotten about, now suddenly vulnerable because they'd once been kind to me. Vincent's hand was warm on my shoulder. Look at me. I did. His eyes were dark and determined and surprisingly gentle. I will keep them safe. All of them. But Emma, I need you to understand something. This is what Ferraro does. He finds everyone you love and makes them leverage. Makes you so afraid of losing people that you'll do anything, pay anything, sacrifice anything to make it stop. Then what do? You stop being afraid. You trust that I'm better at this game than he is, and you let me handle it. How? His smile was sharp as broken glass. By giving Ferraro exactly what he wants. A meeting, a negotiation, a chance to collect your father's debt. No, Vincent, no, you can't. I can, and I will, because the only way to end this is to confront it directly. Face to face. No more messages. No more threats. Just him and me and the settling of old debts. He'll kill you. He'll try. The certainty in his voice terrified me more than the threat itself. When? Tonight. Red Hook Pier. Same place he kept Mrs. Chen. He likes symbolism. Likes making points in places that have meaning. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. It's my father's debt. My problem. I deserve to be there when it ends. Vincent's jaw tightened. For a moment, I thought he'd refuse, would lock me in this penthouse and handle everything himself. But something in my expression must have convinced him, because he nodded slowly. Fine, but you follow my rules. You stay in the car with Carter. You don't interfere no matter what you see or hear. And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood? Understood? Swear it, Emma. I swear. He didn't look convinced, but he didn't argue further. Just turned to Carter, giving orders I only half heard, arranging transportation and backup and contingencies. I went to check on Mrs. Chen, found her sleeping peacefully under the influence of Dr. Reeves's sedatives. She looked small and fragile in that enormous bed, a reminder of what was at stake, of how easily the people I cared about could be hurt. My phone buzzed again. Another message, another photograph. This time, it wasn't threatening. It was informative. A man's face, older, weathered, but unmistakable. My father, alive. Living under a different name in some small town that looked like Idaho or Montana, somewhere vast and empty and far from the debts he'd accumulated. Beneath the photo, just one sentence. He's been watching you, Emma. Every success, every struggle, every moment you thought you were alone, he's been there, and he never came back. The betrayal hit like a physical thing. All those years I'd told myself he'd disappeared to protect us. All those nights I'd mourned him like he was dead, built stories about his sacrifice, his love, his impossible choice. He'd just been hiding, living a new life while my mother worked herself to death, while I accumulated student debt and fought for every scrap of dignity, while his debt transferred to me like a genetic disease. He'd been watching, and he'd never come back. Vincent found me on the bathroom floor, the phone still clutched in my hand, tears streaming down my face. He didn't ask what happened, just pulled me against his chest, his arms solid and steady, his heartbeat reassuring against my ear. I thought he was dead, I whispered, or trying to protect me. But he was just a coward. He just ran. I know. How do you know? Because I've spent 5 years trying to run from my father's legacy, trying to be someone different, someone clean. And every time I think I've succeeded, something pulls me back. A threat, a debt, a woman in a red dress who slaps a man at a party and changes everything. I pulled back to look at him. I'm sorry for all of this, for being the thing that pulled you back. Don't be. You're also the first person in 5 years who made me remember why I wanted to change in the first place. His thumb brushed away my tears, gentle and careful. Your father made his choice. But you're not him, Emma. You don't run. You face things. That's why you're here instead of hiding. That's why you demanded to come with me tonight even though it terrifies you. You're not your father's daughter. You're your mother's. And from what you've told me about her, she would be proud of who you've become. The words broke something open in my chest. Something that had been locked tight since the night she died. Since I'd stood at her funeral alone because my father was somewhere in Idaho, living a new life with a new name. Thank you, I whispered. For what? For seeing me. Really seeing me. Not just as leverage or a debt or a problem to solve. Just me. His expression shifted, softened. Emma. Whatever he was going to say was cut off by Carter's voice from the living room. Sir. Ferraro responded. He'll meet 8 p.m. Red Hook Pier, but he's changed the terms. Vincent stood, helping me to my feet, his hand lingering at my waist. Change them how? Carter's expression was grim. He wants Emma there, face to face. Says the debt is hers, not yours, and she should be the one to negotiate its settlement. Absolutely not. Sir, if we refuse, then we refuse. I'm not bringing her into a meeting with a man who kidnaps elderly women and tracks my car. He'll use her as leverage, or worse. He says if she doesn't come, he'll assume she's a coward like her father, and he'll start visiting everyone on his list, 1 per day, until she does. Silence. Terrible, heavy silence. Vincent turned to me, and I saw the conflict in his eyes. Protection versus pragmatism, safety versus strategy. Emma, I'll go. You don't have to. Yes, I do, because he's right. It's my father's debt, my inheritance, my responsibility. And I'm done letting other people pay for his choices. He could hurt you, kill you. Then stop him. That's what you're good at, right? Protecting people? Vincent studied me for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Fine. But we do this my way. You stay close to me. You let me do the talking. And the moment anything feels wrong, you run. No heroics, no speeches, just survival. Agreed? Agreed. Carter spent the afternoon briefing me. What to expect, where to stand, what to say and what not to say. Vincent's backup would be positioned around the pier, 6 men, all ex-military, all loyal to Vincent in ways I was beginning to understand had nothing to do with money. At 7:30, we left the penthouse. The sun was setting over the Hudson, turning the sky the color of blood and bruises. The drive to Red Hook was silent. Vincent held my hand the entire way, his grip steady and warm and somehow more reassuring than any words could have been. The pier was exactly what you'd imagine. Rusted shipping containers, broken pavement, the smell of salt and oil and decay. Empty except for 3 black SUVs parked in a semicircle, headlights illuminating a space like a stage. Thomas Ferraro stood in the center. Smaller than I'd expected, older, with white hair and gentle eyes that made him look like somebody's grandfather. 6 men flanked him, muscle, clearly, armed and watchful. Vincent and I approached slowly. Carter and 2 others positioned themselves behind us. The rest of Vincent's backup was somewhere in the shadows, invisible but present. Ferraro smiled when he saw me. Emma Hayes. You look like your father. Same stubborn jaw. Same eyes that think they can see all the angles. Let's get this over with, I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. No pleasantries? No negotiations? You want my father's debt paid? Name your price. Ferraro's smile widened. He was enjoying this. The power. The control. $200,000, plus 6 years of interest at 15% annually. Total, $390,000. Cash. Tonight. Vincent's hand tightened on mine. That's not how this works, Ferraro. The original debt was $200,000. Interest doesn't compound on debts the debtor didn't acknowledge. Your father didn't acknowledge debts either, Mr. Kane. Didn't stop him from collecting with interest. With pain. With examples made of people's families. I'm not my father. No, you're weaker. You try to pretend you're legitimate, that you can wash the blood off your hands with contracts and lawyers. But we both know the truth. You're still just a killer in an expensive suit. The words hung in the cold air. True and terrible and impossible to deny. Vincent stepped forward, positioning himself slightly in front of me. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to pay Emma's debt. The original $200,000. No interest. And you're going to accept it and walk away. Because if you don't, then what? You'll hurt me. Kill me. Please. I have 6 men here. You have maybe 8 in the shadows, even odds. And if anything happens to me, my associates will come for her anyway. For her aunt. For her friends. For everyone she's ever cared about. So do the math. Kane. Is she worth starting a war? Vincent's voice went very quiet. Very cold. Yes. The single word carried more weight than any threat. Ferraro's expression flickered. Uncertainty. Recalculation. I want $400,000. Final offer. Payment tonight, or we start making examples. You'll get $200,000. Plus one more thing. What thing? Vincent pulled something from his jacket. A USB drive. Held it up so Ferraro could see. Surveillance footage. Financial records. Evidence of every illegal operation you've run since my father died. Enough to put you away for 30 years. I give this to the FBI, and you spend the rest of your life in a cell watching your empire crumble. Ferraro went very still. You're bluffing. Try me. The standoff stretched. Seconds. Minutes. The kind of silence that precedes violence. Then Ferraro laughed. Actually laughed. You know what? Fine. 200,000. The drive destroyed. And Emma Hayes lives. But Kane? What? This doesn't make you legitimate. This doesn't wash the blood off. You just proved you're still your father's son. Still making deals with criminals. Still using leverage and fear to get what you want. You'll never escape what you are. Maybe not. but at least I'm trying. Vincent pulled out his phone, made a call. Within minutes, a car arrived. A man stepped out, Vincent's accountant, apparently, carrying a briefcase. $200,000 in cash. I'd never seen that much money in my life. Ferraro counted it slowly, methodically, making us wait, making sure we understood who had the power here. When he finished, he nodded to his men. They returned to their vehicles. "Pleasure doing business, Mr. Kane, Miss Hayes." He paused, looking at me with something that might have been respect. "Your father never had the courage to face his debts. You did. That means something." Then he was gone. The SUVs pulled away, taillights disappearing into the night. I stood there on that cold pier, Vincent's hand still holding mine, and felt nothing. No relief, no triumph, just a vast, empty exhaustion. "It's over," Vincent said quietly. "Is it?" He didn't answer, because we both knew the truth. It wasn't over. The FBI investigation would continue. The media scrutiny would intensify. My father was still alive somewhere, watching from his coward's distance. And Vincent had just proven Ferraro's point, that he was still his father's son, still solving problems with money and leverage and the threat of violence. Carter drove us back to the penthouse in silence. Mrs. Chen was awake when we arrived, drinking tea in the living room, looking fragile but alive. "It's settled," I told her. "You're safe now." She patted my hand, smiled, didn't ask for details. That night, I stood on the balcony watching the city, and Vincent joined me like he had that first morning after Mrs. Chen's rescue. "Thank you," I said, "for paying my father's debt, for protecting Mrs. Chen, for all of it. You don't owe me gratitude, Emma. You owe me honesty." "About what?" "About whether you can live with this, with me, with what tonight proved about who I am and who I'll always be." I thought about that question, really thought about it, about the blood on his knuckles and the coldness in his eyes when he'd threatened Ferraro, about the violence he was capable of and the gentleness he'd shown me, about the man trying to be better and the man who might never fully escape his father's shadow. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I want to find out." His smile was small and sad and somehow hopeful. "That's more than I deserve. Maybe. Or maybe you deserve someone who sees all of you and chooses to stay anyway." We stood there in the cold November night, and I felt something shift between us. Not resolution, not certainty, just the possibility that two broken people trying to be better might be enough. My phone buzzed. One last message, unknown number. But this time, the photograph was different. Not threatening, just informative. A news headline. FBI launches full investigation into Kane Industries and Associates. Beneath it, a single line, "Hope she was worth it." Vincent saw it too. His expression hardened. "They're coming for me. For us. The FBI will dig into everything. Your father's debt. My payment. Tonight's meeting. They'll try to prove I'm still running criminal operations." What do? We tell the truth. We cooperate. We prove that paying a debt isn't the same as operating a criminal enterprise. And if they don't believe us, he pulled me close, his arms steady around me. Then we face it together. It should have scared me, should have sent me running. But standing there on that balcony, 42 floors above a city that suddenly felt both vast and intimate, I realized something fundamental had changed. I wasn't running anymore, wasn't hiding, wasn't trying to be invisible. For better or worse, I'd been seen. And I'd chosen to be seen by a man who was equally broken, equally trying, equally determined to be more than the sum of his worst moments. The wind picked up, cold enough to hurt, and Vincent's hand found mine. "Emma? Yeah? Thank you. For tonight. For facing Ferraro. For not running when you had every reason to. Thank you for paying a debt that wasn't yours. It was mine the moment I chose to protect you." His words settled into my chest like stones, heavy and permanent. We went inside eventually, the cold becoming unbearable. But before we did, I looked back at the city one more time, at the millions of lights representing millions of lives, and wondered how many of them knew what it felt like to have their entire existence rewritten in less than a week. Probably more than I thought. Carter met us in the living room, his expression grim. "Sir, we have a problem." Of course we did. Show me. He pulled up a laptop, cued a video, security footage from the pier, time stamped 8:43 p.m., right after Ferraro had left. The video showed someone else arriving, someone who'd stayed hidden during our meeting. A figure moving through the shadows, photographing the exchange, capturing Vincent handing over the briefcase of cash. "Who is that?" I asked. Vincent's jaw tightened. "FBI. They were watching the whole time." My stomach dropped. Which means they have evidence of me paying off Ferraro, of us meeting with a known criminal, of everything we did tonight. But it was legitimate. We were settling a debt. Doesn't matter. The optics are terrible. And optics, in a federal investigation, are often more damaging than facts. Carter closed the laptop. "There's more. They have a warrant. They're coming here tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., to search the premises and question both of you." Vincent nodded like he'd expected this, like he'd been waiting for it. "Then we prepare. Legal team. Documented evidence of the debt. Bank records showing the payment was from my personal account, not business funds. We give them nothing to work with." And if that's not enough, Vincent looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen before. Not fear exactly, but recognition. The understanding that despite everything he'd tried to do, despite 5 years of fighting to go legitimate, he was about to be judged by his father's sins instead of his own choices. Then at least we tried. The words were simple, resigned, heartbreaking. I went to bed that night knowing the next morning would bring agents with badges and warrants and questions I wasn't sure I knew how to answer. Knowing that my name, my face, my entire existence was about to become part of a federal investigation into organized crime. But I also knew something else. Something that settled into my bones with quiet certainty. I wasn't alone anymore. Wasn't fighting invisible battles in a world that didn't see me. I'd been seen, truly seen. By a man who understood what it meant to carry debts that weren't yours, to fight against a legacy you didn't choose, to try, desperately and imperfectly, to be better than the worst thing you'd ever done. And somehow, impossibly, that was enough. I fell asleep to the sound of the city beyond the windows, and dreamed of harbors and shipping containers and a man with dark eyes who'd paid $200,000 to prove that some people were still worth protecting, even when it cost everything. The FBI arrived at 7:43 a.m. I knew because I'd been awake since 5, watching the sky change from black to gray to that particular shade of blue that comes just before sunrise. Waiting. My coffee had gone cold in my hands an hour ago, but I kept holding the mug anyway. Something solid to anchor me while the world shifted beneath my feet. Vincent found me on the balcony, already dressed in a charcoal suit that made him look every inch the legitimate businessman he was trying to be. His tie was perfect. His expression was calm, but I could see the tension in his shoulders, the tightness around his eyes that spoke of another sleepless night. "They're early," he said quietly. "Eager. Prepared. There's a difference." He stood beside me, close enough that our shoulders touched, and for a moment we just watched the city wake up together. Millions of people starting their days, oblivious to the fact that ours was about to be dissected by federal agents with badges and suspicions, and the weight of his father's legacy coloring every question they'd ask. "Emma," something in his voice made me turn. "Whatever they ask you today, tell the truth. Don't protect me. Don't lie for me. Don't try to make things sound better than they are. Just be honest, even if honesty hurts you, especially then. Because the only way we survive this is with the truth. Not the convenient version, not the strategic version, just what actually happened." I nodded, though the instruction felt like asking me to betray him, to stand by while the FBI built a case that might destroy everything he'd worked for. "I need to tell you something first," I said, "before they get here. Before everything becomes official statements and recorded interviews." He waited, patient and still. "When I told you to save Mrs. Chen, when I said, whatever it costs, I knew what I was asking. I knew it would pull you back into the world you've been trying to leave, and I asked anyway. Because I was terrified and desperate, and I couldn't bear the thought of her suffering because of me." My voice cracked. "So if they destroy you today, if this investigation ends your legitimacy, if you lose everything you've built, it's my fault. Not Ferraro's, not your father's, mine." Vincent's hands framed my face, gentle and certain. "Look at me. I did. His eyes were dark and impossibly deep, and I saw no blame there, no resentment, just something that looked dangerously close to understanding. I made my choice the moment I applauded your slap at that party, the moment I fired Morrison, the moment I decided you were worth protecting. Everything that happened after, Ferraro, the debt, last night, those were just consequences of that first decision. You didn't force my hand, Emma. You reminded me why I wanted to change in the first place. To protect people who can't protect themselves. To be the kind of man who sees someone defend their dignity and thinks, that's worth preserving, instead of that's useful leverage. The doorbell rang. Not rang. Buzzed. Sharp and official and inevitable. Carter answered. I heard voices, polite but firm. The particular cadence of people with warrants and authority and zero interest in small talk. Vincent's thumb brushed my cheek once, then he stepped back, his expression shifting into something professional and guarded. Showtime. There were 4 of them. Agent Sarah Martinez, mid-40s, sharp eyes, expensive suit that said she'd climbed ranks through competence, not connections. Agent David Chen, younger, taking notes on a tablet, watching everything with the attention to detail of someone building a case brick by brick. And 2 others whose names I immediately forgot, there to search and catalog and turn Vincent's private space into evidence. Martinez sat across from us in Vincent's living room, his living room, with its museum furniture and its view of the Hudson, and smiled with professional warmth that didn't reach her eyes. Thank you for cooperating, Mr. Kane. Miss Hayes, we appreciate you making yourselves available. We have nothing to hide, Vincent said evenly. Good. Then this should be straightforward. She pulled out a folder. Photographs spilled across the coffee table. Me and Vincent at the party. Me entering this building. Mrs. Chen being loaded into a car at 4 a.m. Vincent and me at Red Hook Pier. Briefcase visible in the harsh headlight glare. Let's start with how you 2 met. I told the story, the party, Marcus Morrison's assault, Vincent's intervention, my promotion. All of it factual and chronological and stripped of the emotion that had made each moment feel like standing at the edge of a cliff. Martinez listened without interrupting, her expression neutral, her pen moving across her notepad in efficient shorthand. And Mr. Kane, why did you fire Marcus Morrison? Because he assaulted an employee at a company function. That's grounds for immediate termination regardless of position. You acquired controlling interest in Morrison and Blake 2 weeks before this incident. Some might say the timing is convenient. Some might say I was conducting due diligence and discovered a pattern of harassment complaints that had been systematically buried by senior management. Morrison's behavior at the party simply confirmed what the internal investigation had already revealed. Martinez's eyebrow rose slightly. Point to Vincent. And Miss Hayes' promotion, junior analyst to director-level position in less than a week? Miss Hayes demonstrated strategic thinking, ethical standards, and the kind of integrity I was looking for in someone to oversee corporate accountability. Her qualifications spoke for themselves. Or you wanted her close, controllable. Vincent's expression didn't change, but I felt the temperature in the room drop. If I wanted Miss Hayes controllable, I wouldn't have given her a position with the authority to challenge my decisions. I gave her power, Agent Martinez, not dependence. She made a note, turned her attention to me. Miss Hayes, are you aware of your father's relationship with Vincent Kane's father? My stomach tightened. Here it was, the question that connected everything. I am now. I wasn't when I met Vincent. When did you learn about the debt? Last week. After someone kidnapped my neighbor and left a ransom note demanding payment. Thomas Ferraro. Yes. And Vincent Kane paid this ransom, $200,000, the exact amount your father owed. He paid a debt that had been transferred to me when my father disappeared. A debt I had no knowledge of and no ability to repay. Why would Mr. Kane do that? The question hung in the air, loaded. Dangerous. I looked at Vincent. He gave the slightest nod. Tell the truth. Because I asked him to. Because an innocent woman was being terrorized because of something my father did 15 years ago. Because I was desperate and afraid, and Vincent was the only person with the resources to stop it. And what did Mr. Kane ask for in return? Nothing. Martinez's skepticism was palpable. Nothing. He pays $200,000, puts himself in a meeting with a known criminal, risks federal investigation, and asks for nothing. He asked me to trust him, to let him handle it, to believe he could protect people without becoming what his father was. That's what he asked for. And did you trust him? I thought about that question, really thought about it. About Vincent's bruised knuckles and his gentle hands. About the violence he was capable of and the care he'd shown Mrs. Chen. About the man trying to outrun his father's shadow while still using his father's methods when necessary. I'm learning to... Martinez studied me for a long moment, and I wondered what she saw. A victim? An accomplice? A woman caught in circumstances beyond her control? Or someone who'd walked into danger with eyes open? Miss Hayes? I need you to understand something. Vincent Kane is not a good man. His father ran a criminal organization for 30 years. Racketeering, loan sharking, intimidation, possibly murder. Vincent has spent 5 years trying to legitimize the business, but legitimacy doesn't erase history. If he's reverting to old methods, paying off criminals, using violence to solve problems, we need to know. He paid a debt to protect an innocent person. That's not criminal activity, that's human decency. And the violence? Our surveillance shows him assaulting 2 of Ferraro's men at Red Hook, hospitalized them both. That's not human decency, Miss Hayes. That's assault. Vincent's voice cut through before I could respond. Those men had kidnapped a 73-year-old woman and tied her to a chair for 16 hours. I used the minimum force necessary to extract her safely. If you want to charge me with assault, Agent Martinez, go ahead. But be prepared to explain to a jury why protecting a kidnapping victim warrants federal prosecution. Martinez's jaw tightened. We're not here to debate ethics, Mr. Kane. We're here to determine whether you're operating a criminal enterprise under the guise of legitimate business. Then investigate. Review every contract, every partnership, every transaction from the past 5 years. You won't find criminal activity because it doesn't exist. What you will find is a man trying very hard to be different from his father while still living with the consequences of his father's choices. Consequences like debts that should have been forgiven years ago. Consequences like people who refuse to let those debts go. People like Ferraro who see legitimacy as weakness, who think going straight means I'm vulnerable to pressure and intimidation. Vincent leaned forward, and I saw something in his expression I'd never seen before. Not anger, not defiance. Exhaustion. The bone-deep weariness of someone who'd been fighting the same battle for years with no end in sight. You want to know why I paid Emma's father's debt? Because I'm tired. Tired of watching innocent people suffer for crimes they didn't commit. Tired of seeing my father's legacy destroy lives decades after he's dead. Tired of trying to prove I'm different, while people like you assume I'm guilty until proven otherwise. He stood, walked to the window, his back to us. So yes, I paid the debt. I met with Ferraro. I used methods I'm not proud of, because sometimes the only way to protect people from darkness is to walk into it yourself. And if that makes me my father's son, then fine. I'm my father's son, but I'm trying to be a better version of him. And I thought... His voice caught. I thought that might count for something. The room went quiet. Even Agent Chen had stopped typing. Martinez closed her folder slowly. Mr. Kane, I appreciate your candor, but intention doesn't negate action. If we find evidence that you're using your father's network, his methods, his connections, we will prosecute. Regardless of your motivations. I understand. And Miss Hayes, she turned to me. If you're involved in this, willingly or unwillingly, you need to come forward now. Immunity is on the table if you cooperate fully, but that window closes fast. I have nothing to immunize. I was a junior analyst who slapped her boss and got caught in the consequences. That's the whole story. We'll see. They left 2 hours later, taking boxes of documents and hard drives and God knows what else. The penthouse felt emptier without them, like their presence had sucked some essential element from the air. Vincent stood at the window, motionless, watching the city below. I joined him. Our ritual now. The balcony when things were manageable. The window when they weren't. They're going to find something, he said quietly. Some connection, some transaction that looks suspicious in the right light. They're building a case, Emma. And when they do, anyone associated with me becomes collateral damage. Then I'll deal with it. No, you'll distance yourself. Publicly. A statement saying you were unaware of my father's history, that you're cooperating with the investigation, that you've resigned from your position. I'm not resigning. Emma, no. I meant what I told Martinez. You're trying to be better, trying to build something legitimate. And I'm not abandoning that because the FBI wants to write a different narrative. He turned to face me, and the vulnerability in his expression nearly undid me. Why? Why stay when you could walk away clean? I thought about that question. About all the reasons I should run, the investigation, the media scrutiny, the very real possibility that Vincent's past would devour his future and take me down with him. But I also thought about something else. About a man who'd applauded my dignity when everyone else had watched in silence. Who'd paid a debt that wasn't his to protect people he'd never met. Who fought every day to be more than the worst thing his father had ever done. Because someone should see you, I said simply. Really see you. Not the legend or the liability or the FBI's target, just the man trying to be better. And maybe that's not strategic or smart or even safe, but it's true. Vincent's expression shifted, softened into something that looked like hope and hurt tangled together. Emma, don't make this into something romantic or meaningful. I'm just choosing to stay. That's all. One choice at a time. One choice at a time, he repeated, like he was testing the words. I can work with that. He pulled me close, his arms steady around me, and we stood there watching the city wake up fully. Cars filling the streets below. People rushing to jobs and lives and problems that didn't involve FBI investigations and inherited debts. Normal. What a strange and distant concept. I have rules, Vincent said against my hair. Rules? 3 of them. If you're staying, you need to hear them. I pulled back to look at him, curious despite everything. 1. You don't leave without Carter or someone from my security team. This investigation makes you visible, and visibility makes you vulnerable. I won't risk someone using you to get to me. Okay. 2. You tell me if anyone contacts you. Anyone from your past? Anyone suspicious? Anyone at all? No secrets. No trying to protect me by handling things yourself. Fair. 3. You trust that I'm trying to keep you alive, even when it doesn't feel like it. Even when my methods are questionable or my decisions seem controlling. Everything I do is aimed at keeping you safe. You have to believe that. I studied his face, searching for manipulation or possessiveness, but found only earnest concern. Those are reasonable rules, I admitted. But I have one too. What's that? You tell me the truth. All of it. No protecting me from difficult information. No strategic omissions. If I'm staying in this with you, I need to know what this actually is. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. That's a dangerous rule, Emma. The truth isn't always kind. Sometimes it's ugly and complicated, and it changes how you see people. I know. Tell me anyway. He nodded slowly. Something settling in his expression like resignation or relief. Okay. One truth, right now, before you change your mind about staying. I'm listening. My father didn't just run a criminal organization. He killed people, directly, personally, when business required it, or when someone crossed lines that shouldn't be crossed. And his voice caught. I knew. I watched him come home with blood on his clothes. Watched him wash his hands in the kitchen sink like he'd just been doing paperwork. Watched my mother pretend not to notice. And I never said anything, never turned him in, never tried to stop it. I just accepted it, because he was my father and I loved him despite everything he was. The confession hung between us, raw and terrible and honest. When he died, I told myself I'd be different, that I'd use his empire to build something legitimate, something clean. But Emma, the foundation is rotten. Every building I construct, every contract I sign, every deal I make, it's all built on blood money and broken bodies and people who disappeared because my father decided they were inconvenient. But you're not taking blood money now. You're not making people disappear. No, but I'm also not giving it back. Not tearing down the empire and starting from nothing. I'm trying to launder my father's sins through legitimate business, and I don't know if that's redemption or just a more sophisticated kind of evil. The honesty in his voice was devastating. No justifications, no excuses, just the raw admission of someone who'd looked at himself clearly and wasn't sure he liked what he saw. Vincent, I said carefully, you're not your father. You didn't choose his methods. You didn't build his empire. You inherited a situation and you're trying to make it better. That's not evil. That's just human. Human. What a terrifying concept. Despite everything, I smiled. Welcome to it. His arms tightened around me, and I felt something shift in his embrace. Not possession, not protection, just gratitude. The simple, profound relief of being seen completely, flaws and failures and history, and not being turned away. We stayed like that until Carter knocked softly, reminding us that the world existed beyond this moment, beyond this window, beyond whatever fragile connection we were building in the wreckage of our respective pasts. Sir, the legal team is here. They need to debrief about the FBI visit and discuss strategy moving forward. Vincent nodded, releasing me slowly. Give us 5 minutes. When we were alone again, he cupped my face in his hands, his expression serious and gentle. Thank you. For what? For staying, for listening, for not running when you saw what I actually am. What you actually are is a man trying to be better. That's enough, Vincent. It has to be enough. Is it enough for you? I thought about that question, about whether I could build a life with someone whose foundation was as complicated and compromised as mine, whose father had left debts of violence and fear instead of just money, who was trying, desperately and imperfectly, to rewrite a story that had been authored in blood. I don't know yet, I admitted, but I want to find out. If you'll let me. Emma Hayes, the woman who slapped her boss and changed my life, wants to find out if I'm enough. How did I get this lucky? You applauded at the right moment. Best decision I ever made. He kissed my forehead, gentle and reverent, then stepped back. Ready to face lawyers and strategy sessions and the systematic deconstruction of my privacy. As ready as I'll ever be. We walked to his office together, and I felt something settle in my chest. Not certainty, not security, just the quiet knowledge that I'd made a choice. Maybe not a smart choice, maybe not a safe choice, but mine. I was staying, learning, discovering who Vincent Kane really was beneath the legend and the liability, and maybe, in the process, discovering who I was too. The legal team was exactly what you'd expect. 4 attorneys in expensive suits with expensive degrees and the kind of confidence that comes from winning cases most people would consider unwinnable. They spread documents across Vincent's conference table, building a defensive strategy that relied on transparency, documentation, and the assumption that the FBI would find nothing illegal in 5 years of meticulously clean business practices. I sat quietly, taking notes, contributing when asked about my interactions with Ferraro, my knowledge of my father's debt, my understanding of Vincent's intentions. They treated me like a liability to be managed, politely, professionally. But I could see it in their glances, their careful questions, the way they avoided making eye contact for too long. I was the complication, the variable they couldn't control. Vincent noticed too. Halfway through the meeting, he interrupted the lead attorney mid-sentence. Emma isn't on trial here. She's a witness, not a suspect. Treat her accordingly. The attorney, Helen something, I'd forgotten her last name, had the grace to look slightly abashed. Of course, Mr. Kane, we're simply trying to anticipate how the prosecution might view her involvement. The prosecution isn't going to view her involvement because there's nothing to involve her in. She was a victim of circumstances beyond her control. Period. With respect, sir, her father's debt, your payment, her residence in your home, these create an appearance of what? Me helping someone who needed help? That's not criminal conspiracy, Helen. That's basic human decency. And if the FBI wants to prosecute that, let them try. The room went quiet. Helen nodded tightly, made a note, moved on to less contentious topics. But I'd seen it. The way Vincent had defended me. Not strategically. Not because it served his interests, just because he saw them treating me like a problem and decided that wasn't acceptable. After 3 hours, the attorneys finally left, taking their files and their strategies and their barely concealed concern. Carter escorted them out. The penthouse returned to its usual quiet. Vincent collapsed onto the couch, exhaustion written in every line of his body. I hate lawyers. They're trying to help you. They're trying to build a case. There's a difference. I sat beside him, our shoulders touching in comfortable silence. Vincent, that debt payment. Did it come from your personal account or business funds? Personal? Why? Because if it's personal, it's much harder to argue you were using company resources for criminal activity. It's just one person helping another person settle a debt. You sound like my attorneys. I was taking notes. Besides, you hired me for corporate ethics. This is literally my job. He smiled, tired but genuine. My very expensive corporate ethics director who currently has no office and no active duties because the FBI is investigating me. I prefer to think of it as working remotely, from my couch. Technically, I'm consulting on reputation management and stakeholder relations during a crisis. That's very legitimate corporate work. His laugh was soft and surprised. How do you do that? Do what? Make everything feel less catastrophic. Like we're just two people having a conversation instead of witnesses in a federal investigation that could destroy everything I've built. I turned to look at him, seeing the vulnerability he usually kept carefully hidden. Because catastrophe is exhausting. And sometimes you have to choose between drowning in the weight of everything wrong or finding small moments that feel almost right. I prefer the second option, even when federal agents are building a case against you. Especially then. What else am I supposed to do? Panic? I've been panicking since I slapped Marcus Morrison. At some point, you run out of adrenaline and just have to exist in whatever mess you've created. Vincent studied me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Wonder, maybe? Or recognition? You're remarkable. You know that. I'm realistic. There's a difference. No, you're remarkable. Most people in your position would be demanding answers, threatening lawsuits, running as far from this situation as possible. But you're sitting on my couch, making jokes about working remotely, treating federal investigation like a minor inconvenience. Trust me, I'm terrified. I'm just good at compartmentalizing. Where'd you learn that? The question caught me off guard. Opened something I usually kept locked. My mother. After my father disappeared, she had to work 2 jobs to keep us afloat. Sometimes she'd come home at midnight, exhausted, and I'd still be awake worrying about bills or school or why Dad left. And she'd say, my voice caught. She'd say, baby, you can only fix what's in front of you. Everything else is just noise. So that's what I do. I focus on what's fixable and try not to drown in the noise. Vincent's hand found mine, warm and steady. Your mother sounds like she was extraordinary. She was stubborn and tired and so damn strong. She taught me that survival isn't pretty. It's just showing up every day and doing the next right thing, even when you don't know if it'll be enough. Is that what you're doing now? The next right thing? I thought about that question, about staying when logic said run, about trusting a man whose father had been a monster, about choosing connection over safety. I hope so. Either that or I'm making a spectacular mistake. Won't know until it's over. And if it is a mistake, then I'll survive it. Like I survived my father leaving. Like I survived my mother dying. Like I survived being broke and alone and convinced I'd never amount to anything. I'm good at surviving, Vincent. It's basically my only consistent skill. He pulled me closer, his arm around my shoulders, and we sat there in comfortable silence while the afternoon light shifted across his expensive furniture and his city views. My phone buzzed. I'd almost forgotten I still had it. Not the FBI, not Ferraro, just my Aunt Margaret, calling from Philadelphia like she did every Saturday afternoon because routine was important and family was supposed to stay connected even when you had nothing new to say. I answered, trying to sound normal, trying to pretend my life hadn't been completely upended in the past week. Emma, how's my favorite niece? I'm your only niece, Aunt Margaret, which makes you the favorite by default. Clever how that works. Her laugh was warm and familiar, and suddenly I was crying. Just tears running down my face without permission, without warning. All the fear and exhaustion and uncertainty spilling out in silent drops that I tried desperately to hide from her. Vincent saw. His hand tightened on mine. Steady. Present. Sweetie, you okay? Yeah, I managed. Just tired. Work's been intense. Too intense. Because you know you can always come stay with me. Get out of that crazy city for a while. I know. I'm okay though. Really? We talked for 15 minutes. Normal things. Her garden. Her book club. The neighbor's new dog that wouldn't stop barking. Mundane and precious and exactly what I needed. When I hung up, Vincent was still there, still holding my hand, still pretending not to notice I'd been crying. Thank you, I whispered. For what? For not asking why I was crying. For just being here. Emma, you've had your neighbor kidnapped, discovered your father's alive and hiding, become part of a federal investigation, and had your entire life turned inside out in less than 2 weeks. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to fall apart. I don't fall apart. I survive. Maybe they're the same thing sometimes. His words settled into me, gentle and devastating and somehow true. That evening, Carter ordered dinner, Chinese food from a place in Chinatown that Vincent claimed was the best in Manhattan. We ate in comfortable silence, and for a few hours, it almost felt normal. Like we were just two people sharing a meal instead of witnesses in an investigation that could destroy everything. Mrs. Chen joined us, looking better, her color returning. She told stories about her late husband, about emigrating from Taiwan in the 70s, about raising 3 children in Queens while working at a laundromat. Normal stories. Beautiful stories. The kind that reminded you people survived catastrophes every day and still found reasons to laugh. After dinner, I helped her to her room, made sure she had everything she needed. "You're a good girl, Emma," she said, patting my hand. "Vincent is lucky to have someone who sees him clearly." "I'm not sure I see him clearly at all. You see him honestly? Sometimes that's better. Clarity can be kind or cruel. Honesty is just truth. He needs truth right now." I thought about that after she'd gone to sleep. About the difference between clarity and honesty. About how Vincent had asked me to tell the truth even when it hurt him. How he'd confessed his father's sins without sugarcoating or justifying them. Maybe that was what made this work. Not shared trauma or mutual benefit, but the simple commitment to seeing each other honestly. Flaws and fears and failures included. Vincent found me on the balcony, our ritual complete now, like the city needed witnessing at every transition, watching the lights come on across the Hudson. "You okay?" Defining okay is complicated lately. Fair assessment. He stood beside me, and I felt the warmth of his presence like something physical. "Emma, there's something else you need to know. Something the FBI is going to discover when they dig deep enough." My stomach tightened. More truth, more complications. "Okay. Your father, Thomas Ferraro, said he's alive, watching you. That's true. I had my people locate him after we paid the debt. Wanted to make sure he couldn't cause more problems. Where is he? Boise, Idaho, living under the name Michael Peterson, works at a hardware store, has a girlfriend, no other family. He's been there 6 years. Since the night he disappeared, the information landed like stones in my chest. Heavy, permanent. He started over. Just erased us and started over? Yes. Did you tell him? About me? About the debt being paid?" Vincent hesitated. "I had someone deliver a message. That his debt was settled, his daughter was safe, and he should stay away. For your protection and his... Why? Because I don't know what kind of man he is now. Don't know if he'd try to reconnect out of guilt or greed or genuine care. And I didn't want him disrupting your life unless you wanted him to." I stared out at the city, processing. My father was alive, working at a hardware store, had a girlfriend, a whole life that didn't include me. "Thank you," I said finally, "for telling me, for not making that decision for me. What do you want to do? I can arrange contact if you want, or keep him away if you prefer." "I don't know yet. Can I think about it?" "Take all the time you need." We stood there in the November cold, and I thought about fathers and debts and the ways we inherit sins we never committed. About my father choosing cowardice. About Vincent's father choosing violence. About both of us trying to write different endings to stories we didn't start. "Vincent?" "Yeah." "Your 3 rules. I accept them. All of them." He turned to look at me, surprise and something else flickering across his face. "And mine. Will you follow it? Will you tell me the truth even when it's ugly?" "I will. On one condition." "What's that?" "You promise to do the same. No protection, no strategic omissions, just honesty, even when it hurts." His hand found mine in the darkness. "Deal." We shook on it. Ridiculous and formal and somehow exactly right. A pact made on a balcony overlooking a city that didn't care about our promises, our fears, our desperate hope that honesty might be enough to survive what was coming. My phone buzzed. Both of us looked at it, that Pavlovian dread that came with every notification now. But this time it wasn't threatening, just informative. A news alert. FBI expands investigation into Kane Industries. Financial records subpoenaed. Vincent read it over my shoulder, his expression hardening. It's starting. The deep dive. They're going to examine every transaction, every contract, every dollar that's moved through my accounts for the past 5 years. Will they find anything? They'll find my father's legacy, money that came from questionable sources, partnerships with people who have criminal records, buildings constructed with labor that wasn't quite legal. All of it historical, nothing current, but enough to build a narrative if they want to. But you haven't broken any laws in 5 years, right? Define broken. I paid Ferraro. I assaulted his men. I used surveillance and intelligence networks that exist in legal gray areas. I'm not innocent, Emma. I'm just trying to be less guilty than my father. The distinction settled between us, heavy and honest. Then we proved that distinction matters. That trying to be better counts for something. That the FBI should care about trajectory, not just history. Vincent's smile was sad. You have more faith in the justice system than I do. I have faith in truth. And we have truth on our side. Do we? Because the truth is complicated. The truth is, I'm the son of a monster trying to build a kingdom on cursed ground. The truth is, I used violence to protect you. The truth is, I don't know if I'm redeemed or just sophisticated in my sins. I turned to face him fully, taking both his hands in mine. The truth is, you're a person, complicated and trying and imperfect. And maybe that's not a legal defense, but it's human. And human has to count for something. He pulled me close, his forehead resting against mine. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you've got me anyway. At least for now. For now is enough. We went inside eventually, the cold becoming unbearable. But before we did, I looked back at the city one more time, at the millions of lights representing millions of people trying to be better than their worst moments. And I thought, maybe that's all any of us can do. Show up, tell the truth, choose each other even when it's complicated. Maybe that's enough. Inside, Vincent's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression went very still. When? Pause. How bad? Longer pause. I'll be there in an hour. He hung up, looking at me with something close to resignation. That was my attorney. The FBI wants me to come in for formal questioning tomorrow morning. They've scheduled interviews with everyone in my inner circle. Carter, my CFO, my executive team, and Emma. They want to interview me too. Yes, separately. They're going to ask about our relationship, about the debt payment, about everything. Then I'll tell them the truth, like we agreed, even if the truth makes me look guilty. I thought about that question, about loyalty versus honesty, about protecting someone you cared about versus protecting the truth itself. The truth makes you look human. If they interpret that as guilt, that's their failure, not ours. Vincent crossed to me, his hands gentle on my face. You're extraordinary, Emma Hayes. Do you know that? You keep saying that. I'm starting to think you need better standards. Or maybe you need to accept that you're more than you think you are. His kiss was soft, careful, like I was something precious that might break if handled roughly. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark and honest and full of something I didn't quite have words for yet. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever the FBI asks or implies or tries to prove, I want you to know something. What's that? Meeting you, protecting you, choosing you. It was the first good decision I've made in 5 years that had nothing to do with strategy or legitimacy or escaping my father's shadow. It was just human. Just wanting to protect someone who deserved protection, and I don't regret it, no matter what it costs. The words settled into my chest, warm and permanent. I don't regret slapping Marcus Morrison either, even though it started all of this. Especially because it started all of this. We stood there in his penthouse with its museum furniture and its view of everything, and I felt something I hadn't felt since my mother died. Belonging. Not safety, not certainty, just the quiet knowledge that someone saw me completely and chose to stay anyway. That night, lying in the too comfortable guest bed, I thought about tomorrow. About FBI questions and strategic omissions and the very real possibility that honesty would make everything worse instead of better. But I also thought about Vincent's hands, gentle on my face, about his admission that I was his first good decision in 5 years, about the way he'd looked at me like I was worth the cost. And I decided, whatever happened tomorrow, whatever the investigation revealed or destroyed, at least I'd been seen. Really, truly seen. That had to count for something. My phone buzzed one last time. I almost didn't look, almost let it sit there unanswered. But I did, and the message made my blood run cold. A photograph. Me and Vincent on the balcony tonight, close enough to kiss. Intimate enough that anyone looking would know we were more than just business associates. Beneath it, just one line, tomorrow. When they ask about your relationship, remember, we're always watching. I stared at that photo, at the proof that our every moment was documented, our every choice subject to surveillance and interpretation. And I thought, let them watch. Let them see us choosing each other. Let them try to build a case out of honesty and connection and two broken people trying to be better. Because that's all we had. Truth. Imperfect and complicated and human. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. The FBI interview room was smaller than I expected. Gray walls, metal table, 2 chairs bolted to the floor like they expected violence. Agent Martinez sat across from me with her tablet and her professional smile, and I wondered how many people had sat in this exact chair, trying to explain away decisions that looked guilty in fluorescent light. Miss Hayes, thank you for coming in voluntarily. Voluntarily, like I'd had a choice. Let's talk about your father. Not Vincent, not the debt. My father, starting where the wound was deepest. What about him? When did you last see him? 6 years ago. October 14th. He left for work one morning and never came home. And you never heard from him again? No. Not a phone call? A letter? Any contact whatsoever? Nothing. Martinez made a note, her pen scratching across paper in that particular way that means interesting. Tell me more. Did you file a missing persons report? My mother did. The police investigated for about 3 weeks, then told us he'd probably left voluntarily. That adult men have the right to disappear if they want to. Did your mother believe that? The question caught me off guard, made me remember things I'd buried. I don't know. She never talked about him after that, just worked her 2 jobs and pretended he'd never existed. Like grief was something you could schedule around shifts at the hospital. That must have been difficult. It was survival. We got good at it. Martinez leaned forward slightly, her expression softening in a way that felt calculated. The good cop routine. Make the witness comfortable, build rapport, then strike. Emma, I need you to understand something. Your father didn't just disappear. He ran. From a debt of $200,000 to Vincent Kane's father. A debt that involved not just money, but services rendered. Do you know what that means? My stomach tightened. No. It means your father did something for the Kane organization. Something that earned him $200,000. And when he couldn't repay it, he vanished rather than face the consequences. What kind of something? We're still investigating. But Emma, people don't accumulate that kind of debt from gambling or bad investments. That's the kind of money you owe when you've been complicit in something illegal. When you've helped move money or hide evidence or facilitate crimes you can't walk away from. The room tilted. My father, complicit. You're saying my father was a criminal? I'm saying he was involved with criminals. And that when Vincent Kane paid your debt, he wasn't just helping you. He was covering up evidence of his father's organization. Making sure you didn't talk to us about what your father might have known. That's not true, isn't it? Think about the timeline. Emma, you meet Vincent at a party. 1 week later, you're living in his penthouse. He's paying your father's debt. He's protecting you from threats. Doesn't that seem convenient? It seems like he was helping someone who needed help, or controlling someone who could expose him. The words hung in the air, ugly and possible. Vincent isn't controlling me. Then why are you here without a lawyer? The question landed like a slap. Because she was right. I should have brought an attorney. Should have protected myself the way Vincent had protected himself. But I'd wanted to prove something. That I had nothing to hide. That honesty was enough. Maybe I was wrong. Am I under arrest? No. But Emma, if you're involved in Vincent Kane's operations, willingly or through coercion, you need to tell us now. We can protect you. We can offer immunity. But that window closes the moment we find evidence you've been lying. I haven't been lying. Then help us understand. Why would Vincent Kane pay $200,000 for someone he barely knew? I thought about that question. About the real answer versus the answer that would help Vincent. About truth versus strategy. Then I remembered our pact. Honesty. Even when it hurt. Because I asked him to. Because someone kidnapped my neighbor and said they'd hurt her unless the debt was paid. Because I was desperate and terrified and Vincent was the only person with the resources to stop it. And because... I stopped, the next words catching in my throat. Because he saw me defending myself against Marcus Morrison and thought I was worth protecting. That's the truth. Not strategy, not conspiracy, just one person helping another person survive circumstances neither of us created. Martinez studied me for a long moment. You care about him, Vincent Kane. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. I'm learning to, yes, even knowing what his father was, what he might still be. He's not his father. He's trying to be better. That should count for something. In a court of law, Emma, trying doesn't matter. Actions matter. Evidence matters. And the evidence shows a pattern of behavior consistent with organized crime. The debt payment. The assault on Ferraro's men. The surveillance networks. The shell companies his father used that still exist in his corporate structure. He's dismantling those. Slowly. Legally. It takes time to untangle 30 years of what? Criminal enterprise? Because that's what we're investigating. Not whether he's a nice man who helped you. Whether he's operating a criminal organization under the guise of legitimate business. I wanted to argue. Wanted to defend him. But Martinez's eyes were sharp and knowing. And I realized this was the trap. Make me defensive. Make me protect Vincent. Then use my words to prove we were coordinating stories. I think I should stop talking without an attorney present. Martinez nodded, unsurprised. Smart choice. But Emma, before you go, one more thing. She slid a photograph across the table. Me and Vincent on the balcony last night. Close, intimate, proof of something more than professional courtesy. Someone sent this to us anonymously this morning, with a note saying you and Vincent Kane are romantically involved, that your testimony is compromised by personal feelings, that everything you've told us is designed to protect him, not reveal truth. My heart stopped. Who sent it? We don't know. But it raises questions about your credibility, about whether you're a victim or an accomplice. I'm neither. I'm just someone caught in the middle of something I didn't create. Then prove it. Help us build a case against Vincent Kane and we'll make sure you walk away clean. There's nothing to build a case with. He's not a criminal. Then why are you protecting him? The question echoed in the small room, and I didn't have an answer that wouldn't sound like exactly what Martinez thought it was. Loyalty over truth. I stood, my legs unsteady. I'm done talking without legal representation. Martinez didn't try to stop me, just handed me her card, her expression professional and implacable. Call me when you're ready to tell the truth, Emma, before it's too late. Carter was waiting outside, his presence solid and reassuring. He drove me back to the penthouse in silence, and I was grateful. Didn't have words yet for what had just happened, for how easily Martinez had twisted Vincent's protection into control, his payment into conspiracy, our connection into evidence of corruption. Vincent was on a call when I arrived. His legal team, I assumed, discussing strategy and subpoenas and all the ways the FBI was dismantling his carefully constructed legitimacy. He ended the call when he saw my face. What happened? I told him. Everything. The questions about my father. The implications about complicity. The photograph someone had sent anonymously to prove our relationship compromised my testimony. When I finished, Vincent's expression was dark and dangerous. Ferraro. Has to be. He's trying to turn the investigation against us, make it look like we're conspiring instead of just existing in the same complicated situation. Martinez thinks I'm either your victim or your accomplice. She offered immunity if I testify against you. And I told her there's nothing to testify about. That you're not a criminal. That you're trying to be better than your father. Emma, you can't what? Tell the truth? That was our deal. Vincent. Honesty even when it hurts. Honesty gets you immunity. It gets you safety. It gets you a future that doesn't involve being collateral damage in an investigation that might destroy me anyway. His voice broke on the last words, and I saw it clearly then. He wasn't angry I'd defended him. He was terrified I'd sacrificed myself to do it. I'm not taking immunity to betray you. It's not betrayal, it's survival. It's a lie. They want me to say you're operating a criminal enterprise, that you paid my debt to control me, that everything you've done is strategic manipulation. And it's not true, Vincent. None of it is true. How do you know? We've known each other 2 weeks, Emma. 2 weeks of crisis and fear and circumstances that don't exactly allow for getting to know someone normally. Maybe Martinez is right. Maybe I am manipulating you and you're too close to see it. The words hit like a physical blow. You don't believe that, don't I? I've spent 5 years trying to convince myself I'm different from my father. But maybe I'm just better at hiding it. Maybe paying your debt, protecting you, bringing you into my home. Maybe all of that was just sophisticated control. Maybe I am exactly what they think I am. Stop. I crossed to him, taking his face in my hands, forcing him to look at me. You're spiraling. You're letting their narrative become your truth. But I was there, Vincent. I saw you save Mrs. Chen. I heard you confess your father's sins without justification. I watched you pay a debt that wasn't yours because someone innocent was suffering. That's not manipulation. That's humanity. Or a very convincing performance. Then why confess? Why tell me about your father's murders? Why admit you don't know if you're redeemed? If you were manipulating me, you'd tell me I'm safe. You'd promise everything will be fine. You wouldn't give me reasons to doubt you. Vincent's eyes searched mine, and I saw the war happening inside him. The man who wanted to believe he was better versus the man who'd been told his entire life that blood determined destiny, that sons inherit their fathers, sins along with their empires. What if I can't be better? What if trying isn't enough? Then we fail together. But at least we fail honestly. He pulled me close, his arms tight around me, and I felt him shaking. Not from fear, from the sheer exhaustion of carrying a legacy he didn't choose while trying to build something clean from cursed foundations. I'm so tired, Emma. Tired of fighting. Tired of trying to prove I'm different. Tired of watching everything I build get destroyed because of choices my father made 30 years ago. I know. Do you? Do you understand what it's like to be judged for sins you didn't commit? To have people look at you and see only your father's crimes reflected back? I thought about my father. About the debt that had transferred to me like genetic disease. About Martinez's questions about complicity and services rendered. Yeah, I think I do. We stood there in his penthouse holding each other while the investigation tightened around us, and I thought about inheritance, about how we carry our parents, choices whether we want to or not, how debt and sin and trauma pass down through generations like heirlooms nobody asked for. My phone buzzed. Martinez. Your father's records show payments from Kane organization dating back 15 years. He wasn't just a debtor, Emma. He was an employee. We need to talk. I showed Vincent, watched his expression harden. They're building a narrative. Your father worked for mine. You're the daughter of an employee turned debtor. I'm the son protecting organizational secrets. It fits their theory perfectly. Except it's not true. Truth doesn't matter if the story makes sense. He was right. I knew he was right. But I also knew something else. Something Martinez's questions had revealed. Vincent, my father. Whatever he did for your father, whatever those payments were for, I need to know. I need the truth about what I inherited. Emma, please. No protection, no strategic omissions, just truth. What did my father do that was worth $200,000? Vincent was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful, gentle, like he was handling something that might shatter. I don't know the specifics. My father kept separate books for different operations. But Emma, people who owed that much money to my father, they were usually doing one of 3 things. Moving money through legitimate businesses to hide illegal income, providing alibis or false testimony when the organization needed legal cover. Or he stopped. Or what? Or handling problems that needed to disappear. Permanently. The implications settled like lead in my stomach. You think my father killed people for yours? I think your father did something he couldn't live with. And when the debt came due, He ran rather than face what he'd become. I thought about my father's face in that photograph from Idaho, living under a new name, starting over, running from debts that were measured in more than money. I need to know. I need to find out what he did. What I'm carrying. Why? Why torture yourself with his choices? Because Martinez is right about one thing. I am my father's daughter. And if he did terrible things, if he helped your father hurt people, I need to know. I need to understand what blood I'm made of. Vincent's expression was pained. Emma, you're not your father. His crimes don't define you. Then why do yours define you? Why do you spend every day trying to prove you're different from your father if blood doesn't matter? The question hung between us, and Vincent had no answer, because we both knew the truth. Blood mattered. Legacy mattered. We were both trying to outrun shadows cast by men who'd made choices we'd spend our whole lives trying to unmake. I'll find out, Vincent said finally. I'll go through my father's records, see what your father did, what he was paid for. But Emma? What? Promise me something. When you learn the truth, when you see what your father was capable of, don't let it change how you see yourself. You're not him. You're someone who slapped a powerful man at a party because dignity mattered more than safety. That's who you are. Not your father's daughter. Just Emma. Just yourself. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to think identity could be chosen instead of inherited. But I also knew better. Knew that the FBI saw me as my father's daughter first. That Ferraro had collected my father's debt from me like property transferring between estates. That Vincent himself had paid my debt because of who my father had been, not who I was. I'll try, I whispered. It was the best I could offer. That night, I dreamed about my father. Not the man who'd left when I was 20, but the man before that. The one who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd made pancakes on Saturday mornings, who'd called me his princess and promised I'd never have to be afraid of anything because he'd always protect me. I woke up crying, and Vincent was there, holding me without questions, without demands for explanation. Just presence, just steadiness while I mourned the father I'd thought I had and grieved for the man he'd actually been. I'm sorry, I whispered into the darkness. For what? For bringing all of this into your life. My father's debt, the FBI investigation, all of it. Vincent's hand stroked my hair, gentle and rhythmic. You brought yourself into my life. Everything else is just circumstance. And Emma, I'd choose you again, every time, even knowing what it costs. The words settled into my chest, warm and impossible and terrifyingly real. Because somewhere between that first slap and this moment, between fear and choice and truth spoken in darkness, something had shifted. We weren't just two people caught in circumstances anymore. We were choosing each other, deliberately, imperfectly, against all logic and safety and strategic sense. And maybe that was enough. Or maybe it would destroy us both. Morning came too soon. With it, a message from Martinez. We have your father in custody. He's agreed to testify about his work for the Kane organization. Interview scheduled for tomorrow. You should be there, Emma. Time to learn the truth. I stared at that message, and everything inside me went cold. My father, in custody, ready to testify about sins I'd spent 6 years not knowing, ready to reveal what blood I was really made of. Vincent read the message over my shoulder, his expression grim. This is it. The moment everything changes. Once your father testifies, once the FBI hears what he did, there's no going back. No pretending this is just about unpaid debts and protective gestures. Then we face it. Together. Emma. No. We made a pact. Truth even when it hurts. This is truth. My father's truth. Your father's truth. All of it ugly and complicated and real. So we face it. His arms came around me, solid and certain. Together. Together. Outside, the city woke up to another day, oblivious and eternal. And I thought about inheritance, about the stories we tell ourselves about our parents, about the moment those stories shatter and we have to decide who we are without them. Tomorrow, I'd learn what my father did, what debts he'd paid in blood and fear, what crimes he'd committed in my name before I even knew I was complicit. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight I had this. Vincent's arms, honest words, the fragile, impossible hope that truth might set us free instead of destroying us. It would have to be enough. The interrogation room where they'd brought my father was different from mine. Smaller, no windows. The kind of space designed to make you feel the walls closing in. To make confession feel like the only way to breathe again. He looked older than the photograph from Idaho. Thinner. His hair had gone mostly gray, and there were lines around his eyes that hadn't been there 6 years ago when he'd kissed my forehead and promised he'd see me after work. He didn't see me at first. I stood behind the two-way mirror with Vincent and Agent Martinez, watching him fidget with his hands, his leg bouncing under the table in that nervous rhythm I remembered from childhood. The tell that meant he was about to lie or confess or do something that would change everything. "Miss Hayes," Martinez said quietly, "you don't have to watch this. We can brief you afterward." "No. I need to see him. Need to hear it from him." Vincent's hand found mine in the darkness behind the glass. Steady, present. Martinez nodded to Agent Chen, who entered the room my father occupied, sat across from him with a folder thick with documents and sins. "Mr. Hayes? Or should I call you Mr. Peterson?" My father flinched at his real name, like he'd forgotten it was his. "Michael Peterson is who I am now. David Hayes died 6 years ago. Convenient timing. Right when the Kane organization started collecting on your debt. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has choices, Mr. Peterson. You chose to work for Marcus Kane Sr. You chose to accept payment for services rendered. You chose to accumulate a debt of $200,000. And when that debt came due, you chose to abandon your wife and daughter rather than face consequences." My father's face crumpled. Actual pain there. Real and devastating. I was protecting them. By leaving them to inherit your debt? By letting your daughter become leverage for men like Thomas Ferraro? That's an interesting definition of protection. I didn't know the debt would transfer. Marcus told me if I disappeared, they'd write it off, that Emma and Caroline would be safe. Marcus Kane lied. Debts don't disappear in that world, Mr. Peterson. They multiply. They grow interest. They get collected from whoever's left behind. My father's hands were shaking now. I could see it even through the glass. The tremor of a man realizing the thing he'd run from had caught his daughter anyway. "What do you want from me?" "The truth. What you did for Marcus Kane. What services you rendered that were worth $200,000. The silence stretched. My father stared at his hands like they held answers. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. "I moved money. Laundered payments through my construction company. Made dirty money look clean. That was most of it. Marcus would give me cash from his operations, gambling, protection, whatever. And I'd write invoices for phantom projects. Labor that never happened, materials never purchased. Then I'd pay it back to shell companies he controlled, minus my percentage. How much money? Millions. Over 10 years, probably $15 million. The number hit me like a physical thing. 15 million. My father had laundered $15 million in illegal income. And the debt? How did you accumulate $200,000? My father's face went gray. I got greedy. Started skimming. Small amounts at first, hundreds, then thousands. I thought Marcus wouldn't notice. Thought I could take enough to pay off Caroline's medical bills when she got sick, then disappear, start over somewhere clean. But he noticed. He always noticed. Marcus didn't miss anything. He came to me, told me I had 30 days to return what I'd stolen plus interest, or he'd make an example. Not just of me, of my family. I felt Vincent's hand tighten on mine. His father. This was his father they were discussing. The man who'd threatened to hurt my mother, hurt me, to collect money my father had stolen. "So you ran. So I ran. Took what cash I had and disappeared. Changed my name. Found work in Boise where nobody knew Marcus Kane or his reputation. And I tried..." His voice broke. "I tried not to think about what I'd left behind." Agent Chen leaned forward. "But you did think about it. Our records show you've been monitoring your daughter, her social media, her credit reports. You knew when her mother died, knew when she graduated college, knew she was struggling financially, and you never reached out. I couldn't. If Marcus knew I'd made contact, he'd use her to find me. Better she thought I was dead. Better she hated me, then became collateral. Except she became collateral anyway." because Thomas Ferraro inherited Marcus Kane's collection book. And he came for Emma just like you knew someone eventually would. My father looked up at the mirror, not at Agent Chen, at the glass, like he knew I was there, like he could feel me watching. Is she? His voice cracked. Is Emma okay? Chen's expression was unreadable. She's alive. No thanks to you. Vincent Kane paid your debt. $200,000 plus 6 years of interest. He protected her when you wouldn't. Something shifted in my father's face. Surprise, then understanding, then something that looked almost like relief. Vincent, Marcus's son, he helped her. He did more than help. He brought her into his home, paid a debt that wasn't his, used his father's methods to keep her safe. Everything you should have done, he did instead. My father's shoulders shook, not crying, just trembling with the weight of choices compounding over years into consequences he'd never have to face personally. What do you need from me? Testimony. Full disclosure of your work for Marcus Kane. Documented evidence of money laundering. Names of shell companies. Dates of transactions. Everything that proves the Kane organization was criminal in nature. And Vincent? He goes down too. If he's continuing his father's operations, yes. If he's legitimately trying to reform the business, that's for the courts to decide. But we need your testimony to build the case. My father was quiet for a long moment. And if I testify, what happens to Emma? She's already caught in this. Her relationship with Vincent Kane, her knowledge of the debt payment, her residence in his home, all of it makes her a witness at minimum. Potentially an accessory if we determine she knew about illegal activities and didn't report them. She didn't know. Emma's innocent. She's just... He stopped. And when he continued, his voice was thick with something that might have been love or might have been guilt. Hard to tell the difference after 6 years of absence. She's just trying to survive choices I made before she was old enough to understand what debt meant. Don't punish her for my sins. Then help us. Testify. Give us what we need to determine whether Vincent Kane is his father's son or something different. My father nodded slowly. Defeated? Resigned. Okay, I'll testify. I'll tell you everything. Just promise me Emma stays safe. Promise me she doesn't pay for what I did. Chen made no promises. Just opened the folder and began taking my father's statement. I stopped watching after 10 minutes. Couldn't bear to hear him list the crimes, the transactions, the systematic corruption he'd participated in while coming home to make me pancakes and call me his princess. Vincent followed me out of the observation room, his presence solid behind me as I walked blindly down the corridor, looking for air, looking for space, looking for anywhere that didn't smell like industrial cleaner and broken families. Emma. I stopped but didn't turn around. My father laundered $15 million for yours. Stole money and ran rather than face consequences. Left my mother to work herself to death trying to make up for debts she didn't even know existed. And he... My voice broke. He watched me. Monitored my life like I was a television show he could tune into whenever guilt made him curious. Never reaching out, never helping, just watching while I struggled with student loans and rent and grief. Just watching. Vincent's arms came around me from behind, and I let myself lean into him because standing alone felt impossible right now. I'm sorry. For what my father threatened, for what your father chose, for all of it. Why are you apologizing? You didn't do this. Neither did you. But we're both here anyway, carrying sins that aren't ours, trying to figure out how to be people our fathers weren't. The truth of it settled into my bones, heavy, permanent. Vincent, your father threatened to hurt me, hurt my mother, to collect money my father stole. That's who he was. That's what you inherited. I know. And you're still trying to be different, still trying to prove you're not him. Why? Why fight so hard when it would be easier to just accept what you are? He turned me to face him, his hands gentle on my shoulders. Because of moments like that party, when you slapped Morrison and everyone watched in silence except me. I applauded because I saw someone refuse to accept what other people decided she was worth. Someone who chose dignity over safety. And I thought, his voice roughened, I thought if she can refuse her assigned role, maybe I can too. Maybe I don't have to be Marcus Kane's son. Maybe I can be Vincent Kane. Just myself. Just someone trying. The honesty in his eyes was devastating. What if trying isn't enough? What if the FBI proves you're still operating your father's empire? What if my father's testimony destroys everything you've built? Then I'll have tried. And I'll have had these 2 weeks with you. These moments of feeling like maybe redemption was possible. That's more than my father ever had. More than I thought I deserved. I pulled him close, pressing my face against his chest, feeling his heartbeat steady and sure. I don't want to lose this. Whatever this is. I don't want the investigation or my father's testimony or your father's legacy to destroy it before we even understand what it could be. Then we fight. We tell the truth. We prove that trying to be better counts for something. And if it doesn't, then at least we'll fail honestly. Martinez found us in the corridor 20 minutes later, her expression grim. Miss Hayes, Mr. Kane, we need to discuss next steps. We followed her to a conference room where Agent Chen had already assembled documents. My father's statement, financial records, photographs of shell companies, and phantom invoices spanning 15 years. Your father's testimony is damaging, Martinez said without preamble. It establishes a clear pattern of criminal activity in the Kane organization. Money laundering, racketeering, systematic corruption, and Mr. Kane, she looked at Vincent. Your financial records show you inherited several of the shell companies your father used. You've dissolved some, but not all. That creates legal exposure. It suggests continued operation of your father's network. I'm dismantling them systematically. It takes time to unwind 30 years of criminal enterprise. Yes, but the courts won't care about intention if the infrastructure still exists. If those companies are still active in any capacity, you're vulnerable to prosecution for racketeering under RICO statutes. Vincent's jaw tightened. How long do I have? To dissolve the remaining companies? 90 days, maybe. If you cooperate fully, provide documentation of your legitimization efforts, and prove you've had no involvement in illegal activities since assuming control. And if I can't prove that in 90 days, then we prosecute. You, your company, anyone in your organization we can prove had knowledge of illegal activities, including Emma. It wasn't a question. Just acknowledgement of reality. Martinez's expression softened slightly. Miss Hayes' involvement appears minimal. Her father confirms she had no knowledge of his activities. But her relationship with you complicates things. If we determine you've been using her to maintain ties to your father's organization, to access her father's knowledge or ensure his silence, she becomes part of the conspiracy. That's not what happened. Then help me prove it. Both of you. Full cooperation, full transparency, no more meetings with people like Ferraro, no more paying debts outside legal channels, no more surveillance networks or private security beyond what's legally documented. Clean, completely clean. For 90 days, Vincent nodded slowly. And my father's testimony? Sealed until trial. The defense will have access, but it won't be public record unless this goes to court, which gives you 90 days to prove prosecution isn't necessary. Martinez stood, gathering her files. Mr. Kane, I don't enjoy destroying lives. I enjoy stopping criminals. If you're genuinely trying to reform your father's empire, prove it. Show me paperwork. Show me dissolved companies and terminated partnerships and money moved into transparent accounts. Show me you're Vincent Kane, not Marcus Kane's son. And if I prove that, then maybe this investigation ends with reform instead of prosecution. Maybe your father's sins don't define your future. She left, and Vincent and I sat in that conference room surrounded by evidence of crimes committed before I was born, by men who'd defined our lives through choices we'd spend years trying to unmake. 90 days, Vincent said quietly. 3 months to dismantle an empire. To prove I'm different. Can you do it? I don't know. Some of those companies are tied to partnerships I can't legally dissolve without massive financial penalties. Some have employees who don't know they're working for reformed criminal infrastructure. And some, he stopped. Some are still useful. For protection. For intelligence. For keeping people like Ferraro from thinking I'm vulnerable. Vincent? I know. I know it's illegal. I know it's everything the FBI thinks I am. But Emma, without those networks, without that infrastructure, I can't protect you. Can't protect Mrs. Chen or anyone else Ferraro decides to target. I become truly legitimate and truly defenseless. The impossible choice hung between us. Safety or legality. Protection or reform. Then we find a third option, I said. We go fully legitimate, but we do it smart. Private security firms that operate legally. Attorneys who specialize in protection orders. Technology that tracks threats without violating privacy laws. We build something new. Something clean. Something that protects people without requiring your father's methods. Vincent looked at me like I'd suggested we colonize Mars. That's ambitious. Possibly naive. Definitely difficult. So, you've spent 5 years doing difficult. Another 90 days won't kill you. His smile was small and tired and somehow hopeful. You're remarkable, Emma Hayes. I'm pragmatic. There's a difference. No, you're remarkable. And I'm... He stopped, and when he continued, his voice was rough with emotion I'd never heard from him before. I'm grateful. That you're here. That you stayed. That you see me trying and think it counts for something. I took his hands, holding them tight. It does count. It has to count. Otherwise, what's the point of any of this? What's the point of fighting our father's legacies if trying doesn't matter? Then we try. For 90 days. Fully legitimate. Fully transparent. And we see if redemption is real or just something we tell ourselves to feel better about inherited sins. Together? Together. We left the FBI building as afternoon sun painted the city gold. Vincent's car was waiting. Carter at the wheel. And I thought about the next 90 days. About dismantling empire while building something new. About my father's testimony and Vincent's efforts, and whether any of it would be enough. But I also thought about something else. About the man beside me who'd chosen to applaud my dignity instead of exploit my vulnerability. Who'd paid debts that weren't his and fought legacies he didn't choose. Who was trying, desperately and imperfectly, to be more than his father's son. And I thought, maybe that's all redemption is. Just trying. Just choosing. Just showing up every day and doing the next right thing, even when you don't know if it'll be enough. Maybe that has to count for something. My phone buzzed as we drove through Manhattan traffic. My father. They'd given him permission to contact me. Emma, I'm sorry. For everything. For running. For watching without helping. For leaving you to pay debts I created. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I hope someday you can understand. I was just trying to protect you the only way I knew how. Even if I failed. Even if I made everything worse. I love you. I never stopped. Dad. I stared at those words. And something inside me broke open. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just acknowledgement. He'd tried. In his cowardly, selfish, devastating way. He'd tried to protect me. It hadn't been enough. Would never be enough. But it was something. I showed Vincent. He read it, then looked at me with understanding. Are you going to respond? I don't know. Maybe eventually. When I figure out what I want to say that's true and not just angry. Take your time. He waited 6 years. He can wait a little longer. Fair. Devastatingly fair. That night, Vincent and I stood on the balcony watching the city settle into darkness. Our ritual. Our constant. The thing that marked transitions and decisions and moments when everything changed. 90 days, he said. Starting tomorrow. Full legitimacy, full transparency, no more gray areas. Scared? Terrified. But also, he turned to face me. Also hopeful. Which is strange. I haven't felt genuine hope in years. Just grim determination. Just going through motions. But you, his hand cupped my face. You make me think maybe this isn't just obligation. Maybe building something different is actually possible. It is. But Vincent? Yeah? When we succeed, and we will succeed, don't give me credit. Don't say I made this possible. This is your fight, your choice, your redemption. I'm just here, just staying, just believing it matters. Just staying is everything, Emma. Don't minimize that. He kissed me then. Not gentle or careful like before, but certain, like a promise, like a commitment to the next 90 days and whatever came after. When we broke apart, the city glittered below us, and I thought, this is it. This is the moment everything changes, where trying becomes doing, where intention becomes action, where inherited sins become chosen redemption. Tomorrow, Vincent would start dismantling his father's empire. Tomorrow, I'd figure out what to say to a father who'd loved me enough to run but not enough to stay. Tomorrow, the FBI would watch us prove legitimacy was possible. But tonight we had this. Truth spoken in darkness. Choices made on balconies. Two broken people trying to be better than the worst things their fathers ever did. It would have to be enough. And somehow, impossibly, improbably, I thought maybe it was... I woke to silence. Not the normal silence of early morning in a Tribeca penthouse. This was different. Wrong. The kind of silence that comes before earthquakes. The kind that means something fundamental has shifted. Vincent's side of the bed was empty. Cold. He'd been gone for hours. I found Carter in the living room, his expression grim in a way that made my stomach drop. Where is he? Emergency meeting. Downtown, Atlas Construction, the FBI froze the accounts overnight. Employees can't make payroll. It's a disaster. The company my father used for money laundering. Yes, of course. Of course it would be that one. The FBI wasn't just investigating anymore. They were dismantling, systematically destroying everything Vincent had been trying to salvage. Carter drove me to the Brooklyn warehouse where Atlas Construction operated. Vincent was surrounded by attorneys and terrified employees, his sleeves rolled up, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. This wasn't one sleepless night. This was 5 years of fighting finally visible. He saw me and something flickered across his expression. Relief, love, fear that I was seeing him fail. Emma, you shouldn't be here. Neither should you, not alone. I crossed to him, lowering my voice. What happened? The FBI claims Atlas has been operating as a front for continued illegal activity. Recent transactions matching my father's old patterns. Which is impossible because I've been cleaning every account. Someone's setting me up. Ferraro? Has to be. He has connections. Easy to fabricate transactions, make it look like I'm still operating my father's network. His voice was hollow, defeated in a way I'd never heard. So what do? I dissolve it. Today, fire everyone. Destroy a company that employs 47 people who have nothing to do with my father's crimes. Prove I'm willing to sacrifice anything to go legitimate. I looked at those 47 people. Working class, families to support, people who'd probably never even heard of Marcus Kane. Just people doing honest work for honest wages. And Vincent was going to fire them all. Not because they'd done anything wrong, but because proving legitimacy required sacrifice. There has to be another way. There isn't. This company is poison, and I have to cut it out before it destroys everything else. One of the attorneys approached with dissolution papers. Vincent signed, his hand steady even as his jaw tightened. 47 families disrupted, all to prove he wasn't his father. By noon, Atlas Construction was dissolved. Employees given severance Vincent didn't legally owe them, paid from his personal accounts because even in destruction, he was trying to minimize harm. The last employee, a foreman named Rodriguez, stopped Vincent at the door. Mr. Kane, thank you. For the severance. For trying. For not being your father. The words hung in the cold Brooklyn air, and I understood. Redemption wasn't transformation. It was demolition, erasing who you'd been until nothing recognizable remained. In the car, Vincent stared out the window. 47 people. I destroyed their stability because I inherited my father's crimes. You chose the lesser evil. That counts for something. Does it? Because I'm starting to think reform is just sophisticated destruction. My phone rang. Martinez. Miss Hayes, we need to talk. About your father. At the FBI office, Martinez was direct. Your father's testimony reveals he wasn't just laundering money. He was providing intelligence, information about rival organizations, police investigations. He was deeply embedded in criminal infrastructure, which makes you... She paused. You're the daughter of someone who effectively worked as a spy for a criminal organization. That makes you a security risk, a potential asset for anyone wanting leverage over Vincent Kane. So what do? We can offer protection, witness security, a new identity if necessary. But Emma, that means severing ties with Vincent Kane. Completely. You disappear into protection, and he continues without you. The room tilted. You want me to leave him. I want you safe. Right now, your association with Vincent Kane makes you vulnerable, makes you exactly the kind of asset people like Ferraro exploit. No, Miss Hayes, no, I'm not running. I'm not disappearing. I'm not abandoning Vincent when he's fighting to prove legitimacy. I'm staying. I'm visible. And if that makes me vulnerable, then that's the price of being seen. Martinez studied me with something that might have been respect. You sound like someone in love. The words hit me like a revelation. Was I in love with a man I'd known 3 weeks? I sound like someone who's tired of running. My father ran, spent 6 years hiding, and it didn't protect me. Didn't protect anyone. I'm not making that mistake. Even if staying means becoming collateral damage, even then, Martinez handed me her card again. When you change your mind, and you will, call me. The offer stands. All you have to do is walk away from Vincent Kane. I took the card, didn't promise to use it. Back at the penthouse, Vincent was on the balcony. Our place, our ritual. I joined him without words, just presence. Martinez offered me witness protection, new identity, complete disappearance. All I have to do is leave you. Vincent went very still. And I told her no. He turned to look at me. Vulnerability and hope and fear tangled in his expression. Why? Because running didn't save my father. Because you're the first person in years who's looked at me and seen Emma. Just Emma. And I'm not giving that up. Not for safety. Not for anything. Emma, if something happens to you because of me, then something happens. But at least I'll have lived. My father spent 6 years in hiding. 6 years safe and invisible. And what did it get him? I don't want that life. I want this. Complicated and dangerous. But real. Vincent pulled me close, his arms tight around me. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you have me anyway. For how long? Until the next threat? For as long as it takes. We stood there while the sun set, and I thought about choices. About staying when leaving was safer. About choosing connection over survival. His phone rang. Carter's voice. Urgent. Sir, Ferraro's made contact. Wants to meet tonight. Says he has information about who's setting you up. Says it's not him. Vincent's expression hardened. Where? Red Hook Pier. 9 p.m. That's a trap. Probably. But if he's telling the truth, if someone else is fabricating evidence, we need to know who. Vincent looked at me. I'm going. Then I'm coming with you. Emma. No. If you're walking into danger, I'm there. Non-negotiable. You stay in the car with Carter. You don't interfere. And if anything goes wrong, you run. Promise me. I promise. The lie tasted bitter, but necessary, because I wouldn't run. Not anymore. 9 p.m. found us at Red Hook Pier. Ferraro was waiting with 6 men. Same positions. Same choreography of power. But something was different in his expression. Urgency. Maybe fear. Vincent approached slowly. I stayed by the car, watching, heart hammering. Ferraro spoke first. Kane, we have a problem. Someone else is playing us both. Your CFO, Richard Chen, he's been skimming money through the old shell companies, making transactions look like your father's patterns, framing you while pocketing millions. Vincent went very still. Richard, he helped me build the legitimization plan, and he's been sabotaging it. Every time you get close to clean, something happens. Evidence surfaces. That's someone with access. Someone internal. Why tell me this? Because Chen framed me too. Made it look like I was pushing you back into criminal activity. And I don't need to fabricate cases. I'm legitimate now too. Mostly. Ferraro held up a USB drive. It's all here. Everything you need to prove Chen's guilt. Peace offering. You paid that girl's debt when you didn't have to. This makes us even. Vincent took the drive. Then everything went wrong. Gunshots. Sharp and sudden. From the warehouse behind us. Carter was pulling me from the car, Ferraro's men returning fire. And Vincent was running toward the gunfire. I saw him then, Richard Chen, emerging from the warehouse with 2 men, guns drawn, aiming at Vincent. I didn't think, just ran. Ran toward Vincent, toward danger, toward the moment when staying visible meant everything. I hit him from the side, tackling him as gunshots rang out. We went down hard, his body covering mine. More gunshots. Carter returning fire. Chen going down. Then silence. Vincent pulled back, checking me for injuries. Are you hurt? No, are you? You ran into gunfire. You promised you'd run away. I ran toward you. Understanding dawned in his eyes. You could have died. So could you. That's different. No, it's not. Vincent. I stopped being fragile the moment I slapped Marcus Morrison. Maybe I've never been that person. Maybe I've just been waiting for permission to be seen. He pulled me close, his breathing ragged. I love you. God help me. Emma. I love you. And you just scared me more than anything ever could. I love you too. Which is why I couldn't let you face that alone. Police sirens wailed. The FBI would arrive soon. Chen was wounded but alive. Everything was about to get more complicated. But right now, on this pier where debts had been paid and love confessed, right now, we were alive, together, visible, and that was enough. The FBI took Richard Chen into custody at 9:47 p.m. I watched them load him into the ambulance-turned-police transport, watched Agent Martinez read him his rights while paramedics treated his shoulder wound, watched the man who'd systematically tried to destroy Vincent's legitimacy finally face consequences for his own crimes. Vincent stood beside me, his hand never leaving mine, both of us wrapped in shock blankets despite neither of us being injured. Just shaken. Just alive when we could have been otherwise. Martinez approached with the expression of someone who'd just had their entire investigation rewritten. Mr. Kane. Miss Hayes. The USB drive Ferraro provided? It changes everything. If Chen's been fabricating evidence, operating your father's networks in your name, then you're not our target anymore. You're a victim of corporate fraud. She paused, and something almost like an apology crossed her face. We were wrong. Not about your father's crimes. Those are documented. But about you. About whether you've been genuinely trying to reform. The evidence suggests you have been. Vincent's grip on my hand tightened. How long until you know for certain? Weeks of forensic accounting. But preliminary review shows systematic embezzlement, fabricated transactions. Chen was setting you up, Mr. Kane, and he almost succeeded. Why? Money. He was skimming millions. When you started dismantling shell companies, when you began legitimate audits, he knew you'd discover his theft. So he made it look like you were still operating criminally. If you went to prison, he'd have time to cover his tracks completely. The betrayal settled like lead in my chest, and I wasn't even the one who'd been betrayed. Martinez's expression softened slightly. I'm sorry. For the pressure. For assuming guilt. For nearly destroying what appears to be genuine reform because we were too focused on legacy to see present action. She left to coordinate the investigation. Vincent and I stood alone on that pier where so much had changed. Carter drove us back to the penthouse in comfortable silence. We'd said everything that needed saying. Now, we just needed to exist in the aftermath. Mrs. Chen was waiting, recovered enough to fuss over us like grandchildren. She made tea and sat us down at the kitchen counter, inspecting us for injuries we insisted we didn't have. You're both too thin, too much stress, not enough eating. I'll make soup tomorrow. Real soup. Despite everything, the gunfire, the investigation, the betrayal. I smiled, because this was what safety actually looked like. Not protection details or men with guns. Just someone caring whether you ate, someone making soup, someone staying because you mattered. That night, Vincent and I returned to the balcony. Our ritual so ingrained now it was automatic. The place where we processed and existed together. It's over, he said quietly. The investigation. The threat. Chen's arrested. The FBI knows I'm not my father. It's actually over. Is it? You still have companies to dissolve. Still have your father's legacy to untangle. But I'm not fighting alone anymore. I have you. I have evidence that I've been trying. I have time to do this right. He turned to face me, his hands gentle on my face. Emma, you saved my life tonight. Literally ran into gunfire. Why? Because losing you would have been worse than any bullet. That's not logical. Love isn't logical, Vincent. It's just true. And I love you. Flawed and fighting and impossibly complicated. I love exactly who you are. His kiss was soft, reverent, like I was something precious he'd finally been given permission to keep. I love you too. Have since that first night when you stood in your clearance rack dress and looked at me like I might be worth trusting. You saw me, Emma, not my father's son, not a criminal in an expensive suit, just Vincent, just a man trying to be better. You are better. You've been better. The FBI just finally noticed. We stood wrapped around each other while the city glittered below, and I thought about transformation, how change isn't dramatic, isn't one big moment of redemption. It's just choosing, over and over, to be slightly better than yesterday. Vincent had been doing that for 5 years. I'd been doing it for 3 weeks, and somehow we'd found each other in the middle of trying. What happens now? I asked. Now I finish what I started, dissolve the remaining companies, build something completely legitimate, continue employing the ethics director who runs into gunfire and challenges every decision. That seems like a conflict of interest. Probably want to resign? God, no. I want to stay. Keep challenging you. Keep making you be better than you think you can be. That's a big job. You pay well. His laugh was soft against my hair. Worth every dollar. 3 months later, Vincent dissolved the last shell company. 12 companies his father had built. His father had corrupted. His father had used for crimes Vincent spent 5 years trying to atone for. The celebration was quiet. Just us, Mrs. Chen, Carter, and Vincent's legal team. Champagne and relief and the profound satisfaction of completing something impossibly difficult. To legitimacy, Helen announced, earned the hard way. To redemption, I added, however long it takes. Vincent's eyes met mine across the room, and I saw everything we'd survived reflected there. The slap, the debt, the investigation, the gunfire, the choosing and staying and fighting to be better than our fathers. To us, for trying. We drank to that, to trying, to choosing, to being seen and staying visible even when invisibility would have been safer. That evening, Vincent handed me a small box on the balcony. Inside, keys. Keys to what? To here, the penthouse. I want you here. Not as someone I'm protecting, as yourself. As the woman I love who challenges my decisions and makes me want to be better every single day. Vincent, I'm not your project. I'm not something you fix to prove you're different from your father. I know. You're the person who fixed me, who showed me that trying matters. Emma Hayes, you saved my life in more ways than just tackling me on that pier. So these keys are an offer. Not of protection, of partnership, of building something together that's completely ours. No fathers, legacies, no inherited debts, just us. I took the keys, feeling their weight, their promise. Okay, I'll stay. I'll build something with you. I'll keep being your ethics director and your challenger and the person who sees you clearly, for as long as we both keep trying. His kiss was everything. Promise and gratitude and love built from crisis and choice and the courage to be seen. Below us, the city spread out like scattered diamonds. Millions of lives, millions of stories, all trying, in their own way, to be better than their worst moments. I opened the balcony door, letting in the November wind, and felt something I hadn't felt since my mother died. Home. The sense of belonging because someone saw you completely and chose to keep you anyway. Vincent followed me inside, his hand in mine, and we faced the future together. Not perfectly, not without challenge, just honestly, just visibly. Just two broken people trying to build something whole. And somehow, impossibly, improbably, perfectly, that was enough. If you made it to the end of this story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from, and click the yellow bell to subscribe to the channel and support us. Keep the adventure going by clicking on the suggested video on your screen.